If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu, plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
Welcome into this football frenzy on a Friday, on a Wednesday. Got that, everyone? There we go. Yeah, there we go. The day before Thanksgiving. I'm Jeff Parles. We're happy to be with you for the next 2 hours. Boy, we got a lot of games. Went through the list when you put the NFL and college together. We are going over 50 games here today on the show. Chris Andrews is here, Sportsbook Director here at the South Point. Vinny Magliulo, Gaughn Gaming. Well, I got 2 Hall of Famers to my right, and we'll have a third a little bit later in Jimmy Vacarro. Mm-hmm. So, gentlemen, this is an amazing week. Chris, the action's starting to flood in over the last hour or so now.
Yeah, I told you. You came to see me about an hour ago. I said, Jeff, I don't have that much business. Boy, did that change in the last hour. They're coming at me right and left.
Well, I will tell you, the parking lot outside, just going when I got here, it felt like a middle of a Saturday.
Oh, really?
So I think the people are starting to come in. People have already gotten tired of the relatives who've already come into town on Wednesday. And boy, you're trying to come here tomorrow night. It's going to be jam-packed once everyone's had enough turkey in their system. They're like, oh, I don't want to be around that person in my family the rest of the
I think Grandma threw out everybody already. Get out of here now. Let me cook, and then tomorrow you can eat, and then get out of here again.
But tonight, we got some great basketball, by the way. But tonight was the first night in how many days? No football.
First in 51 or 50
something. Yeah.
I think it was 51 days without a football game. Well, Akron and Toledo gave us all we could handle last night for that.
Well, I'm glad to see Kent State.
They
finished the year as the worst rated team in my 40-some years of doing power ratings.
So I know you're not alone on this because I saw Brad Powers, who is one of the most respected college football bettors as well out there. He had them as his second worst team he's ever had.
Who's the other one?
One of those bad UMass teams.
Okay,
I don't remember if it was 2018 or 2017.
I remember talking to Roxy about it. I had a Cincinnati team. We were trying to figure it out. I want to say from like 83 or 84 or something like that. I had a kind of a different system, so I couldn't compare numbers exactly. But there was a Cincinnati team 2 years in a row. I think 1 year they lost every game, and then the following year they won 1 game. So it was right in that area there that I had.
I had 1983 at 1984 at 2-9.
Check the year before.
Yeah, okay. I'll double check that. No, they were 4-6-1 that year. So
maybe the year after.
We'll check it. We'll check around.
We got enough to do today. We got enough to do today.
Because in my hand, because look, let's be honest with yourselves. You're going to get tired of the family that's around you on Thanksgiving if you're here in Las Vegas. Come down to the South Point. You got until Saturday morning at 9 a.m.
Saturday morning, 9 a.m., yeah.
to get this card in. It's the $25,000 guaranteed college rivalry jackpot parlay card. It's only $5 a card, as many cards as you want. You got to get it in by 9 a.m. because all these games start at 9 a.m. on Saturday. But please, come on down.
Just pick the winners.
Pick the winners.
No
point
spreads.
spread. You got a real shot, and a real shot at a good sum of money, too. If you go 15-0, you'll get at least a split of that.
At least that, yeah.
And all I'll tell you is, if you go 15-0 with everything that's gone on in college football the last 2 weeks, give me your crystal ball.
God bless
That's
you.
what I want.
Yeah.
I want that. I want that crystal ball that knew everything on this. All right, gentlemen, we got a lot of college football games to go over here today because everyone's playing here in the final week of the season. And we start tomorrow night where Tulane, with a win, is in the AAC title game. But more importantly, so the college football playoff rankings came out last night. And I brought this up to Ryan McCormick on Monday of what would have to be the scenario where Tulane snuck in front of the Big 12 champion. And Tulane's in a single window. They're a 13.5-point favorite right now against Memphis, who's been arguably, I would say they're a disappointment this year. I thought they were
going to be in the hunt for this spot. And that's why I thought this game, okay, we don't have the Egg Bowl. But I thought this game was going to be a huge, huge game. It is in some respects, but I thought it was going to be even bigger on both sides of the contest.
So how, Chris, you guys opened 14.5, now 13.5. So
they have
taken the points with the Tigers.
Yeah. You know, before we go any further, there was something I wanted to say, and I'm not sure it applies so much because the scenarios have changed so much with NIL and transfer and everything else. But, you know, for years, I used to follow teams that had like what I would call a disappointing season, then had that last game of the year, often jumped up and played up to what their preseason potential was. And that would apply to Memphis. But like I said, there's so much has changed in the last couple of years. I'm not sure that theory really applies. It's strictly anecdotal. I'm not sure how much you can go back and substantiate it one way or the other. But I used to play that for years, and it really worked pretty good. But like I said, right now, I'm not so sure.
Well, I think both of these two teams, right, they're both 9-2. We're looking for that magic 10 win to get a bigger payday in a bigger bowl game, too.
Yeah. So
some incentive there. And the fact that it's on Thursday is the only Chris brought up a great point. No Egg Bowl on Thursday, no Texas A&M on Thanksgiving. This game as a standalone is certainly going to have a lot more handle because it's of that window compared to where it would be on or what it would get on Saturday.
Yeah. It's still a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, Memphis is 9-2.
But we're talking about how disappointing they are.
Yeah,
but I thought they'd be in the hunt for maybe a CFP spot.
They're both 9-2, as Vinny said, but Tulane's two losses came against Oklahoma and Kansas State, which
our buddy Chris Felica, the Bear, thinks Tulane is the best of the non-power five.
I know he's not alone in that thinking at this point. Memphis' losses have come to Texas, San Antonio, and Navy this year. And
not the same thing.
Yeah, not quite the same. Again, it looked like for a while it might be the same thing with Navy, but Navy is really,
they've
fallen off over the last few weeks. All right, to Friday. There are about a dozen games on Friday. We'll cover about half of them here, and we start in Boulder, where they're getting up early for the nice 10 a.m. local time kickoff at Rocky Mountain High. 17 now on Dion and company. We'll make it 16.5 now on this game with Dion and Oklahoma hosting Oklahoma State. Chris, this has been a nightmare for the Pokes, to put this politely. They have not won a conference game. Yeah. They are in last place. They have lost 8 straight games since the 3-0 start. It has been a nightmare for Mike Gundy and company. In Colorado, just a matter of, all right, you lost last week. You still could get to the Big 12 title game. What type of effort are we going to get out of them here?
I think we'll get a good effort out of them. I still only made the game 16. Colorado's been a little bit up and down. I think that goes back to the fact that they have some great skill position players. They beefed up that offensive and defensive line from last year, but it's still not up to really Big 12 standards. So that can, a lot of times Shedeur doesn't have the time to pass, and, different time pass, and, the running game probably isn't what it should be. That causes a lot of problems. But I made the game 16. Again, cutting it pretty close. I opened at 17. We're down to 16.5. Not sure I'd make it a play, but I could see where the move came. A little bit of value on the dog.
probably see more favorite money tonight going into tomorrow, the 9 o'clock start locally. So, and you mentioned it, Jeff. I mean, Colorado, one of 4 Big 12 teams sitting at 6-2 in the conference. So, I mean, they need some help, obviously, but there'll be certainly a lot of incentive. Oak State, complete opposite of last year, right? Started off slow, finished strong. This year, they haven't won since that game number 4. They lost that game and every one since when they played Utah at home without Cam Rising.
Well,
so.
Who knew at the time that both of those teams would not even make a bowl game here in this season? The Utah UCF game is so bad we're not even touching it right now on the show.
Those are the 2 teams we had penciled in.
Oh, those are 2 teams. Well, UCF at Big 12 Media Days, that was the team. Oh, that's the dark horse this year. No, not quite. It's basically been everyone else but them. And for Oklahoma State, I just wonder if the game has passed Gundy by, or if this is just one of those years where everything. You were the luckiest team in college football last year, and now just it regressed to the mean in epic fashion, and even went through the mean for the luck numbers for Oklahoma State. All right, let's go to Minnesota and Wisconsin here. I actually have these teams backwards on my sheet. Minnesota on the road here as a 1.5-point underdog against Bucky Badger. PJ Fleck last week passed up an opportunity to go for a touchdown as opposed with down 4 with 5.5 minutes to go. They kicked the field goal to go down 1. They never got the ball back, which I could have told you something like that was going to happen. And Minnesota had an opportunity to upset Penn State, and they didn't. Wisconsin, on the other hand, I think you could start asking questions about Fickle at this rate.
Yeah.
And it's year 2. There's been no progress. They need to win this game to get bowl eligible. I have no idea what to expect out of this game, other than the fact that 41.5 feels like the right number and would probably still be one of these grinder games in the Big Ten here.
I made Wisconsin 1. We opened 2. We're down to 1.5. So, I mean, it's kind of headed that way. But, again, I don't see a whole lot of value. It's funny. I kind of like both coaches, and I hope they both do well. Fleck, I think that was a mistake last week. And even though rooting for Penn State, I didn't like them last week, but on the number.
Minnesota covered easily.
Yeah. But I like Fleck. Like I said, I kind of caught on to him early when he was at Western Michigan. And, Fickle, I like it when Wisconsin's good. I think it's good for the Big Ten. It's good for football. So I hope he's successful in that spot.
There's other coaches that are in a lot more trouble. Fickle's not going anywhere. Not after just 2 years.
Not 2 years.
And with the new transfer portal rule that's going to apply, right? I think you can. There's only a certain number of players. I think you can't exceed. Is it 105 or so? Now you look at a team like Nebraska. Nebraska's got over 150 guys on the roster. It's almost like an unlimited roster. It's ridiculous.
Right?
Yeah.
Really?
They're going to lose at least 50, just as an example. Nebraska's going to lose at least 50 players to the transfer portal. Now, don't forget there's recruiting going on as well. So I think that the revised transfer portal limits, but, I mean, they're still high. There's big numbers. You remember, Chris, when Nebraska and Oklahoma were always at the forefront, Ohio State and everything. They had the huge rosters with 65 players.
Well, my good friend Greg Crawford. And you met Greg. He went to Nebraska as a non-scholarship player, and they had a lot of those guys who were non-scholarship. They actually had a freshman team. Which. They were one of the last of the big schools to play. And they played like, Chabon State? Do I got that right, Jeff? One of those, a Nebraska school. They played schools like that.
Chadron State.
Chadron State.
Danny Woodhead School.
Exactly right. Yeah. They played those guys. So, I mean, but they had a lot of guys like that they, brought in as walk-ons, sort of. But, they were non-scholarship. And then those kids, the ones that deserved it, wound up getting scholarships. But those days are kind of gone.
Yeah. I think Fickle's going to be just fine, again, for at least another year. Now he's going to have to obviously start producing in year 3, recruiting-wise, and see what the transfer portal brings in, particularly receivers and need a quarterback.
Let's go to another game that's starting super early in the morning for the home team. Boise State on Friday. Welcomes Oregon State. Chris, you brought this game up on Monday.
Yeah.
And look, Boise State is already locked in the Mountain West title game, but they have to win this game to hold off Tulane for that last spot in the college football playoff for the fifth conference champion. The bettors have taken the Beavers, though, who need a win for bowl eligibility, 20-19. Beavers beat Wazoo last week. This feels like a ton of points, especially where Boise's kind of been in a slump the last month now.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of points, but like I said, there's question marks on both teams.
Yeah.
Did Oregon State play their Super Bowl last week? They might
possibly.
Does Boise State, do they need to, I don't want to say run it up, but do they need to look impressive in order to hold off Tulane? And, but they are penciled in already. Well, not penciled in, they're inked in to the Mountain West Championship game. So, I mean, there's questions of incentives on both sides. So, I don't know. You're an in-game guy.
Yeah.
This might be an in-game type of play to see where these two teams, how they're lining up, what the incentive is early in the game.
Yeah, this would be an interesting one because if Boise looks like they're going to rock them, the number might get too out of control in order to lay it. If it's Oregon State, you can still take 12 points if you think they're going to like something in that pocket.
They covered easy as double-digit dogs last week.
It took 20 in this game.
I mean, they won the game last week.
We're at 19 now.
It's boy, Genty's banged up. Ever since he's been banged up, this has not been the same looking Boise State team. Assuming UNLV handles their business, we'll get to them at the end. Look out next week. That's all I'll say. UNLV is
at Boise.
Even out on the blue turf. I think UNLV is live to win that game outright next week against Boise because they were really the only team that had the semblance of a plan against Genty through the first 7 weeks of the season. All right. I'm disappointed this game's not on Thanksgiving anymore. The Egg Bowl. Ole Miss season went up in flames last week with that loss to Florida, loss number 3. Now I think they get to take it out on their in-state rival, who's had a very rough season all the way through. 2 wins for Mississippi State. It's 26.5 and 62. Chris, this has not moved one bit, but if you told me Ole Miss got to that 62 on their own this week, it would not shock me one bit here.
Well, I made it 30, so it's getting up there a little bit. And I would most definitely have the favorite before I'd have the dog. 30, that's a lot. But, you're under 27 if you lay, 26.5. Obviously, a key number at 27 or 28. I kind of like the chalk here in this one. I think the number is just a little bit light.
You would think there'd be a letdown spot. If it was anybody else, probably right after Mississippi's playoff hopes got dashed last week. But this is their in-state rival. Important for recruiting and for transfers. So, but it's more likely to go up, I think, to Chris's point, than come down.
Yeah, I think I don't like laying this many points.
Yeah.
But this kind of feels like one of those runaways here for Ole. And how is Mississippi State's probably going to score max of 10 in this game? The funny thing is 35-10 doesn't get you there on 26.5.
By the way, we have most points scored for Friday.
Okay.
We did, so we're doing it for Friday and Saturday.
I mean, Ole Miss has got to be the favorite, right?
Ole Miss is the favorite. I think I got them. What are we on, 7-2, something like that?
Them or Colorado, right?
Yeah, Colorado's second choice.
Colorado's 7-2.
Colorado. What's Miss? Oh, that's to score first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's right.
What's Ole Miss?
Colorado's 9-2.
Yeah,
so plus 450.
And then Mississippi is plus 3.25.
Okay, so there you go. Ole Miss favorite for the most points on Friday. Yeah. All right, well, 2 teams that won't likely be in that mix. Up next, Iowa hosting Nebraska. In the long national nightmare's over. Nebraska's going to a bowl for the first time in 8 years.
They stormed the field last week.
Yes, they did. 4.5-point dogs at Iowa. This is actually a weird one in the market here. You guys are market high on this game.
Yeah.
But there's a few other shops that are with you at 4.5.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of 4. And then there's even 3.5 from our friends over at the Superbook with John Murray. And by the way, congratulations to Jake Cornegay, an amazing career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stepping away from the day-to-day ops over at the Superbook. I'm going to be honest with you guys on this game. I have no clue. I have no idea. It's Iowa. It's Nebraska. It's 2 defenses I like, 2 offenses that are better but still not good. I don't know.
Are they playing for like the big cornstalk or one of those kind of
Which is this the old? Who plays for the Old Oak and Bucket?
Oh no, that's Minnesota.
Purdue.
That's
Minnesota?
Purdue and
Purdue and Indiana.
Yeah, that's
And
coming.
Minnesota plays for
Minnesota's the Axe, right?
No. They have that, but don't they have like the
Crew?
old pig or
Somebody
something?
get on that.
Minnesota has one of their games. They're playing for the pig, Floyd the pig.
All right, so Nebraska and Iowa. Floyd the pig. I'm going to look that up in a second.
I think
Arnold.
Iowa and Nebraska.
Not Arnold Ziffel.
By the way, I like the favorite in this game.
Okay.
Before we go any further,
Iowa and Nebraska just have a very generic looking trophy right now.
shouldn't they play for like a corn and a year of
I
corn
think they
or
should
something
just.
like
I think
that?
they should just play for wheat. In all honesty, that would
Wheat,
be
I was
good too.
thinking
I think we'll
corn.
see. I think we'll see Iowa money when it hits 4. If it gets to 4.
The by the way, Old Oak and Bucket, as you said, is of course the battle for Indiana, which we'll get to later in the pig. It is Floyd of Rosedale is the pig for Iowa and Minnesota.
I knew Minnesota was involved.
It's not Arnold Ziffel from Green Acres. Man,
Well,
he did not fight for Arnold.
Another big rivalry game in state in Georgia. Games in Athens. The Bulldogs of Georgia will host Georgia Tech. It is a big number, and Georgia's locked in the SEC title game. Technically speaking, this game doesn't impact Georgia too much because next week is a win and in. Obviously, if they were to lose this one, then they'd be done. But I think this is way too many points, personally, where you're in a scenario where Georgia Tech has been plucky this year. They, of course, are the only team to beat Miami.
Sure.
This is a totally reasonable football team. And look, Georgia, we've talked about it all year. This is not the same Georgia team we've seen over the last half decade with Kirby Smart. Last week, it was the defense that decided not to show up. Before that, it was Carson Beck turning the ball over in bigger games so far this year.
I think Vinny and I had this conversation one of the, just the last couple of days. How long are we going to keep making excuses for Georgia?
Can't. Not anymore.
We've been doing it for 12 weeks.
That's it.
I mean, it's about time we quit. But I mean, I think to your point, Georgia Tech is a plucky little team. They're going to be playing hard in this one. I know
always
that.
do, Chris.
They're going to be playing really hard. And Georgia, I think you have to question their motives, number one, and question their performance, Vinny. Like we said, we keep making excuses for them, but they just have not performed like the team we expected at the beginning of the year.
And again, the other thing we talked about is the fact that their receiving core was not replenished after. I mean, their best receivers, one of them's playing 3 miles away from here for the Raiders at tight end, and the other one's playing. He played the other night for the Chargers, McConkey. So their receiving core is not helped Beck. And you know what? Again, they haven't had enough games to where their defense and their offense clicked the way it did the last 2 years. Georgia Tech is listen. They've been surprising people since the first game of the year in Ireland against Florida State. They started Florida State on this downward spiral this year. So very much alive here, and I would suspect that even this game hasn't moved, which I'm a little surprised. I have to believe there'll be support for the dog here.
It hasn't moved yet. I'm sure since that game's in the primetime window on Friday, that will be heavy action once we get to that game.
Georgia, with
I would
these
say
two?
so on Friday night. All right, let's go to Saturday now. We'll start at West Point. Army, a little dose of reality for the Black Knights last week. Army just got overrun by Notre Dame last week.
Size and speed.
Okay, we all kind of expected that here on the desk a week ago. Now they take on UTSA. Army with a win will be good to go in the AAC title game against. Well, they already are technically good to go, but they would be 8-0 in the regular season in the AAC. 7 down from 8.5. There's been one-way traffic on the Roadrunners here in this game, Chris.
I thought the opening number even was a little cheap. I like the favorite in this game, and I know they got throttled last week by just a clearly superior team. I mean, that's that happens sometime, and it wasn't luck, it wasn't anything. Notre Dame's on one level and Army's on another level, but Army's on a level that's much higher than most of the rest of this league, including UTSA. I think this number should have been higher. Like I said, even when I opened at 8.5, I like that higher. I think I opened it a little high compared to the market, and they took it. We're down to 7. Looks like I'll be needing Army in this game, and that's okay with me.
I think it's a play on maybe playing the letdown factor after last week. But to Chris's point too, I think we'll see support for the cadets as we get into further into the weekend.
I'm with the boss here. I'm with you. I think 8.5 was actually on my initial list of, this feels like a good bounce back for Army.
Yeah, I think so.
Now you're giving me, now I only have to lay a touchdown? Fine with me. Very happily lay that with, again, I still think Army's a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not on the level of anyone that's going to be in the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. And you know what? For Army, that's quite all right.
That's fine.
That's quite all right.
That's fine.
Going 10-1 in the regular season, that's an amazing year for Monken and company up there.
Do you know what you have to do to get into West Point?
Oh, I know.
It's not like going into Nebraska. I hate to say.
Hey,
just to pick on the Cornhuskers.
Chris, I will tell you, I ran that course once as a teenager at West Point because I had a good friend of mine growing up's father was well connected at West Point. I barely made it through the course, and it took me about 5 times longer than everyone else on there. So
I remember, again, I'm getting off track here. Remember the one kid, this is how strict Army is. He took his dry cleaning to the wrong dry cleaners.
Yeah.
They voided his whole year. He had to repeat the whole year.
Yeah.
One mistake.
That's
the way it is.
Again,
But
you
that's
said,
what you sign up for.
Well, like you said, with Air Force and Navy and Army, you see these kids on the football field, you feel like we're in good hands.
I'm glad they're defending the country.
Right.
100%. All right, let's go to a game that is on this card right here. Again, $5 for a chance to win $25,000 in the college rivalry jackpot parlay card. Get it in by 9 a.m., which is actually
You still have a couple days, man.
9 a.m.
on Wednesday.
9 a.m. on Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah. So this game, actually, it's a 9 a.m. Saturday.
It's a 9 a.m. Saturday. So, you got 2 days of football to come in, make up your mind,
and
pick
then
your
get this
cards.
card. Make sure you bet. And also, again, don't wait till 8:58 on Saturday morning.
Please don't.
please get it in before 8:58 or 8:55 on Saturday morning. Chris, we talked about this game 3 weeks ago, and based off the college football playoff ratings that came out yesterday, I think both of these teams are actually alive for an at-large bid all of a sudden with all the carnage that has happened. Yeah. Where Clemson was ranked 12th. Hey, look, when I can beat up on the Citadel and move up 5 spots, I think you gotta reward them for that, right?
Sure.
But Clemson's up to 12. South Carolina's 15 behind both two teams that beat them in Ole Miss and Alabama. But if South Carolina goes to Clemson and wins this game by margin, I wouldn't be so shocked if South Carolina doesn't end up sneaking in the back door and ends up in as a potential 3-loss team. Clemson, same sort of deal. 2.5 with the Tigers. We talked about this 3 weeks ago. You thought South Carolina had a shot to be favored in this game.
They did, yeah.
And the fact that they are not makes me love the Gamecocks in this game. Yeah. Give me that plus money. They're the better football team between them and Clemson here. Clemson's beaten 2 bowl teams all year long. Good luck trying to beat a legitimate top 15 team, even in your own house here.
I saw Paul Feinbaum this morning on Get Up, and he was saying that it's kind of the same thing. Right now, South Carolina's playing as well as almost anybody in the SEC.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good football. And, I said a couple of weeks ago I thought they might be favored in this spot. I tried to stay under the market here. I opened at 2, and there was 2.5s in the market. They laid me the 2. And again, I'm happy with that, and I hope I go into this game needing South Carolina because I think they walk away with this win.
I'll tell you the difference between power ratings and playoff ratings. Clemson's lower this week in my power ratings than they were a week ago after that illustrious win over the Citadel.
You weren't that impressed.
Come on,
no disrespect.
Don't disrespect the Citadel.
No disrespect to that academy, right? It's a military academy in the South, and no disrespect to the committee. But that's the reality of it, and we've talked about it for the last few weeks. There are 2 teams that nobody really wants to play right now. South Carolina is one of them because on a neutral, this game, even with the home field here, this game really comes to like a pick 'em. And we'll get to the other one. Kansas is the other one.
We'll get there.
You talk about current form.
Yep.
They're the most dangerous teams that are on the outside looking in right now. And I'm not so sure South Carolina's on the outside looking in. So I've got them 3 points higher on a power rating than Clemson on a neutral.
I got them too.
Yeah, there you go.
All I'll say is if South Carolina wins and Miami loses this week and then SMU beats Clemson, that's probably the parlay that is needed to get South Carolina in.
And they would have played their way in.
It's not a crazy parlay
No,
by
it's
any
not,
stretch
no.
of the imagination. Well, Miami losing to Syracuse would be a nice price, but it is Cristobal in a big spot, as we know. We'll get to that game a little bit later. All right. I don't really want to talk about this game much, but we have to bring it up because of the difference, what this line is today as opposed to what it was during the summer. Florida State, obviously, season from hell for the Noles, 2-9 going into this game. The Gators look like a season from hell early, but credit to Billy Napier. They're already bowl eligible at 6-5. All right, Vincenzo, it's Gators 15.5 in Tallahassee here. What was this during the summer in the games of the year?
10. The other way.
25.5 point move.
Just saying.
I'm going to have to look at my notes. I think we both agreed on that number, too.
We did.
Yeah.
And nobody bet it, by the way. Nobody touched it. I remember
It's one of the best numbers you made all
couple
summer.
of guys.
Solid, baby.
Couple of guys said, boy, that's a good number.
I
like that number.
Great number by you guys.
I triple checked it. I said, what? Really? Holy.
I'm going to be honest with you, Vinny. I actually, when you said 10 and a half, I was like, I thought it might have been even 13. But
No,
but
that was
all
it.
right, well. Hey,
No, Jeff, and they
Cooler
didn't.
heads prevailed.
And
Jeff.
they didn't bet it to 13 either.
No, I mean, that's the best
Yes.
part. Number didn't move. It means you made an amazing number at the time.
Unbelievable.
Well, there you
We
go.
got the All-Stars shooting at us, you know what I mean?
Just,
Walked away unscathed in that game anyway.
Just had to bring that up.
All right, let's go to an SEC game. And look, Tennessee's in the field right now, and with a win on Saturday, they're going to be in the college football playoff. But they got to go to Nashville, and they have to take on, we used the word plucky before to describe Georgia Tech. I actually think plucky would be insulting to this Vanderbilt team. I think they're genuinely good.
They are pretty good.
Last week, they covered again as an underdog. Didn't quite get to the outright win against LSU, but they lost by 7, covered basically all numbers that were out there, except for a few in-game ones. And now, boy, would Vanderbilt, who is 6-5, love to spoil Tennessee's season. This does not get thought of as a rivalry game, but the folks in Nashville that are Vanderbilt people despise UT, despise them. This feels like, I'm not saying Tennessee is going to lose outright, but you're giving me 10.5 at home with Vanderbilt. We're going to do it one more time, Chris. I'm on the doors. I don't know if I will sprinkle money line, but I'm going to take 10.5 with Vandy here.
Well, Vinny kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. Says there's the power ratings, and then that just gives you a place to start, and then you have to kind of go from there. Even with my power ratings, I only made Tennessee a 9-point favorite. Now, 9 to 10.5, there's a little bit of significance there. You're getting through a pretty key number. But again, I think if you look a little deeper in the incentives in this game, Tennessee, they kind of know they're in. They expect, those guys in the locker room expect to win this game. But Vanderbilt, They've pulled the upsets this year. There's a huge year for Vanderbilt, and I hope they stay on this trajectory just to keep the SEC a little bit more honest. But I like I said, even just power rating number wise, I like Vandy a little bit.
Yeah.
Then you go a little bit deeper, I like them even a little bit more. I like Vandy in this game.
Harvard to the south.
Yes, sir.
No movement. 10.5 on, and the total stayed the same too. But there'll be plenty of interest on this game. That's for sure. And it's just this one's on the card, isn't it?
It's
It is
not.
not.
Oh, it's not.
It is
No,
not.
when
Okay.
I made the card early in the year, I didn't think Vandy was going to be this good.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I missed it.
that would have been actually one of
That
those
would've
that
been a
would
good
have
one.
blown up. I think
Big surprise, this Vandy team.
Yeah.
Good team.
Oh, I mean, look, you made it a half SEC win and thought it was a good number. On that.
I didn't get any argument from Vinny on that one either, by the way.
No, I mean, going in,
And I didn't think we'd get bet on that one either. At least, certainly
no,
not much.
No, I thought that was a great number.
Yeah.
Who are they beating?
I remember
they're beating
looking at
Alabama.
we both said the same. Show me a win on this schedule. Yeah, we couldn't come up with one.
All right, now let's go to a game that is on the
We're
card.
in the Hall of Fame, though, by the way.
That's okay. Hey, look, Cy Young lost over 300 games. He's in the Hall of Fame, too. All right, let's I don't know why my brain went to Cy Young, but whatever. All right, let's go to the next one that's on the card. Syracuse welcomes the Canes. Hey, it's the old Big East battle here in this one. Miami needs a win to get in the ACC title game. If they win, they'll take on SMU. The committee, by the way, had Miami rated ahead of Georgia, which was very interesting to me. But all right, whatever. If Miami doesn't win the ACC, it'll work itself out. Syracuse, this has been a season that has been a great surprise, I think, to anyone around that program. There's the expectation, all right, if they get to win 7 games, get back to a bowl, job well done. They win this game, they're 9-3. Mm-hmm. Now, those luck ratings I brought up from college football stats 2 weeks ago at Syracuse is the number 1 luckiest team in America. But this is the type of game where we have seen Mario Cristobal lose in his coaching career. Not saying they're going to lose, but you're giving me double digits at home with a team that has a competent offense that I think will be capable of scoring on Miami. Well, very happily take it. And I will be fully prepared for Miami to score a touchdown to reverse backdoor me here at the end of this game, more likely than not.
I would feel I'm not giving out Syracuse, but I can see your point in all this. And Cristobal has been, a good coach except for game day. Yep. And even except in the last couple of minutes of game day.
Amazing recruiter.
Yeah, amazing recruiter. He always gets a lot of guys, and Miami's a place where you can get a lot of guys, and he's done that. But, he's also ripe for being upset. And, would this one surprise that many people? Like I said, I don't believe it would. I think you got a live dog there, Jeff.
Syracuse, one of the 2 teams to beat UNLV here,
yep.
right at the end of the game,
yep.
on a very close call. No movement here on the side or the total. I suspect that there'll be. I could see where we're gonna get Syracuse money in this one. Now, you mentioned, Jeff, what Miami had, for the ACC title game. They're sitting at 6-1 right now. Clemson is 7-1, right, in the conference. SMU is 7-0, but I think Miami and SMU have the tiebreakers, right, over Clemson.
So if Miami wins, they're in. SMU's good, regardless of what happens this week. They're already locked in.
Yeah, so they've got the tiebreakers over because if Clemson wins, obviously they wind up at 8-1 in the conference. So
Clemson's already no more conference games for them, so they're already good in that one right now. 11 for this one with Miami. Again, I'll be on Syracuse. If Miami beats me, so be it. Then the talent won out in this one. All right, let's go to a game that's on the card, Virginia and Virginia Tech. Now, Chris, I don't think we expected going into this game with Vought Tech needing a win to get bowl eligible here this year. They were one of those teams that people pointed out, they're a dark horse in the ACC. Hasn't worked out. They've been horrible in one-score games.
Well, game 1, they lost as double-digit favorite to Vandy. Yeah.
Virginia Tech, if you eliminate the one-score games this year, guys, they're 11-1. 11-1. Or 10 going for 11-1 this week against Virginia. If you flip the results,
they're playing for bowl eligibility, right? I think both
are, right?
Aren't they? Against Virginia as well, who got clocked by SMU last week. So 7.5 is the number now. I'm going to advocate for something pretty strange here, real quick. Virginia Tech has not won a one-score game all season long. Brent Pry is 1-12 in one-score games in his coaching career. It's either Vought Tech covers this game and wins by double digits, or they lose outright. Totally setting myself up for the wrong type of middle, but I would lean towards the favorite here. I think this is just a talent mismatch when this is all said and done. I like Vought Tech to run Virginia out and get to win number 6 on the year.
Well, I made it 10. So, I favor the favorite in this game. I didn't realize Brent Pry is 1-12.
One-score games?
One-score. Oh, that's
not
bad.
Good.
That's pretty bad. Jeez. Okay.
If you're going to reverse middle yourself, Jeff, play in game.
Yeah, well, trust me, I've done that.
Save your sanity.
Well, I know our guy Ryan McCormick has done that in the past too. So
save your sanity.
So trust me, Vinny. It's been a while since I've actually accidentally done that, which is good. I think it's been about a month, which is good by in-game standards. All right, let's go to it's on the card. But this game is not the same this year because Michigan is not as good, obviously. But they did get bowl eligible with a win last week, so they're 6-5. They're good to go as they take on Ohio State at the Shoe. We all know what's on the line for the Buckeyes at this point. You win, you're in the Big Ten title game. And again, even if they were to get shocked here in this game, they're going to still make the college football playoff. But they would damage their seeding if they were to get shocked in this game. Also, I think Ohio State fans might want to throw Ryan Lake into Lake Erie, drive up to Cleveland and throw him in Lake Erie by the end of this, because it would be 4 straight losses to Michigan if they were to lose this game. 20.5, 43.5. Again, I don't love laying big favorites in low totals, but if Ohio State's ever going to drill these guys, it's coming this year, fellas.
I made it 26. I like the favorite in this spot. I mean, the final score against Indiana, I mean, they had a couple special teams touchdowns that really kind of inflated the score. But if you look at the box score, they really did dominate Indiana. I mean, that easily could have been a score similar to that, even without those, let's call them fluky touchdowns. And I just think they're clearly better than this Michigan team. And like I said, I'm not crazy about laying this kind of number, but I do like the favorite in this game.
Well, they took 21, right?
Yeah.
Went to 20, and they laid 20. So, they bet both sides so far. I think there'll be more Ohio State money in this game. By the way, Michigan already won the week because they grabbed the number one quarterback recruit in the
From
nation.
LSU, is that right?
Yeah. So it's Bryce Underwood, who actually goes to high school in Michigan, was committed to LSU,
right?
And then
Kelly opened his mouth.
No, it was looked like it was Larry Ellison's guy who owns Oracle, right?
Yeah.
His wife is a big Michigan fan and a Michigan graduate, and
she coughed up some
and they
NIL dough.
They coughed up some dough. Let's just go with that. Dave Portnoy Barstool as well involved in that deal. So there was a lot of money thrown at Mr. Underwood, who will now be the quarterback in Michigan next year, who has been compared to the closest thing we've seen to Cam Newton since Cam Newton himself. So it's a pretty good comparison if that happens to be accurate there. Oh, you know what? That's a good what if for this Michigan team. If they had competent quarterback play, they probably would be playing like, hey, if you win this game, you're probably playing for a college football playoff berth still.
They've gone through what, 3-4 quarterbacks?
They're on 4. Yeah, and they still could. They had a real quarterback, probably 9-2. Lose to Texas, lose to Indiana, and maybe even beat Indiana with the way that game went. All right. Well, for something a little bit different in the conference, Michigan State is going for win number 6. They'll take on Rutgers, who already has 6 wins. The way Rutgers lost last week was one of the more ridiculous ways I've seen anyone lose this year. With a what was it, 2-point lead, right? 1 point, 2-point lead with 17 seconds left. Bielema of Illinois sends out his kicker to kick a 58-yard field goal. Shiano freezes the kicker. The kicker misses his short and left. Bielema puts the offense back on the field, and Illinois scores a 40-yard touchdown to win the game.
With 6 seconds left.
6 seconds left. One of the more wild finishes you'll ever see. I don't know how Rutgers responds to that. And we got the bowl bid desperation for Jonathan Smith's team. I like the favorite at home in this one, guys. Either short money line price or lay the 1.5.
I made it pick.
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry.
fine.
Yeah,
These teams are even.
I don't know what to do with this.
They
one.
laid the 1 and 6-5, so they're betting the favorite.
All right. Now we get into what has been a very fun week for me with the way that I wanted to handicap the Big 12, guys. So there's 8 games in conference this week. We'll start with the Territorial Cup. Arizona State, with a win, will be in the Big 12 title game. We'll take on Arizona, who's obviously had a mess of a season any way that you would have expected. Honestly, if you thought about this game going into the year, you would have expected the teams to be reversed here with Arizona.
What do we make this game of the year?
I got it.
What do you got?
17 down to 15. Arizona.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Paul Stone didn't miss that one.
No, yeah. He warned us about Arizona.
So
good for him.
I don't think he warned us this hard.
No, this is beyond a warning. This is like a red alert.
So for this week, 8 conference games, 1 favorite is flipped. But when I was going through this at the beginning of the week, I had 6 underdogs pop for me in this league this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 6 of the 8 dogs. Now, one of those dogs is flipped to a favorite. We'll get to them later. I think if you've watched the market, you know who I'm referring to on that. But we talk about this all. Then you mentioned this earlier, and it's a question of, in this era of NIL, what is it? Arizona's season has been a disaster. But this was a team that still has arguably the best receiver in the country in Ted McMillan, a quarterback who last year looked awesome in Noah Fafita. And now you have Arizona State wandering in here in a role there, even in a year where they're 9-2, this is an unfamiliar thing. You're laying more than the touchdown on the road in a conference game. Oh, and it's your biggest rival as well. I'm not saying Arizona will win outright because that would be something else, and that would be nice little wrecking of some people's cards here for the jackpot card. But I'll very happily take north of a touchdown with the Wildcat. Oh, yeah. I think Arizona State finds a way to win the game, but this is going to be tight, and it's going to be sweaty for the Sun Devils to get to Arlington next week.
Once again, I made the number 8.
Yeah,
so we're at 8.5. So it's pretty much right on the number. So I have no real opinion. But that'd be interesting to see what you wind up with on this, Jeff. I'm not afraid to root for you. I'll probably be rooting for the dog anyway.
I'm not going to take a money line. I'm just going to take some points. Yeah. We'll see if we can get it. Well, not much of a difference in college between 8.5 and 9, but if we can get a 9, that would be nice.
Sure. Again, you're looking at ASU, one of 4 teams sitting at 6-2, right? You talk about all kinds of potential chaos for the Big 12 title game.
So
no movement on this game, by the way.
The scenario for Arizona State's very easy. Win the football game, you go to Arlington next week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to the other one later. There's one other one that looked like they were way out 2 weeks ago. Now it's very
not
much
so
alive
fast
again, with what's happened the last 2 weeks. All right, let's go to BYU and Houston now. Cougars, well, they've had luck. They've been better than I think we thought they were going to be. We thought they were going to be real bad.
Well, we knew the coach was a good coach.
Yeah, we knew he was a good
got
coach.
them better during the course of the year.
4-7 for them. They go to 9-2. BYU has lost 2 straight games after the 9-0 start. This is another underdog I like. Mm-hmm. I understand why at some shops, and you guys opened at 13, some other shops opened 12, but I know you guys opened 13. I understand why this is held at 13 the whole week. Mm-hmm. BYU, 2 straight losses. Their defense probably should be able to slow Houston down. But again, this is a Houston team where the effort will be there even though their season is over. And you're going to get an honest effort. And I don't think the talent, even though BYU's had this magical year, I don't think the talent's a 13-point talent gap. So I'll take Houston. If BYU blows me out, so be it. The Cougars will then need a loss by either Iowa State or Arizona State in order to make it to the Big 12 title game.
I made it a little short of this. I made it 12. So I have no strong opinion. But I understand what you're saying. BYU has been just incredibly lucky all year. And Houston, like I said, we identified them probably after about week 3 or 4, something like that. The Willie Fritz has had a tremendous amount of success as a coach. And he inherited a mess in Houston. But he figured to get them better by the end of the year. And he most certainly has done that.
Yeah, They were close. They hung tough with Baylor, and Baylor had to pull that game out at the end last week. So BYU obviously still on a hope, if you will. I mean, Iowa State's a short favorite, So I think we haven't. It hasn't moved yet, but I believe there'll be support for BYU in this one.
Let's see how high it goes. This is the last night, last game of the night, also too on Saturday. Especially if favorites are good on Saturday, this thing could very easily hit 14.
There'll be plenty of carryover to this game, and I think it hits 14, maybe even higher, Jeff, and it'll get to 14 way before kickoff. I think
14.5 would be nice. So, very happily take that. That
wouldn't shock me.
All right, West Virginia and Texas Tech. This is throw your hands up. Let's see what we're getting out of either of these teams at this point. Texas Tech, by the way, still technically alive for the Big 12 title game. They would need a lot of help to get there. I'll say this with West Virginia. They have definitely looked better over the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. They, last week, a home underdog against Central Florida, won that game. Yeah, they lost to Baylor by 2 touchdowns, but they had 2 straight road wins as underdogs. And now they go on the road as a dog again. It would be a lean to West Virginia, but boy, we've talked about Texas Tech all year. You have no idea what you're getting out of the Red Raiders on a weekly basis at this point.
Inconsistent, which means bad and good. But I like West Virginia in this game. I think this game really should have been a pick. And, sitting at 3 right now, you can even get a little bit of juice on the money line, plus 130, maybe even a little more if you scout around. I like West Virginia in this game. This is going to be one of the sides that I give out today.
Toggler, laying 3 and taking 3.5. So, you know what we don't need?
Mm-hmm. Vinny, I'll give you West Virginia by 3. That'll be okay for you guys.
You'll give me
West Virginia by 3.
You will? Oh, the reverse? A little.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be fine.
A little side action.
I would be, Chris and I would be happy with that result.
Yes.
We would be happy with that on that. All right, let's go to Baton Rouge next. Oklahoma last week. Now taking on LSU this week. You know what? I've gotten on OU all year. You got to give them a ton of credit for last week. That was
Who's that?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah.
That was just an outstanding defensive clinic last week, where they had the game plan that I think a lot of teams should have had with Jalen Miller all year. All right, you're at most getting a 5-yard run on us. You're not beating us with your legs. You want to beat us with your arm? Be our guest. And Jalen Miller just couldn't do it. And for Oklahoma, a year that's been really just a misery all the way around, they at least get to win 6 and will go bowl eligible in year 1 in the SEC. LSU, they were fired Kelly Chance at the beginning of that game last week against Vandy. To LSU's credit, they came back. They never really were in danger of losing the game. They didn't cover, though. Now it's 6 with a total of 47. All I'll say is, guys, I think this total is way too high. It's Oklahoma's defense they're even with the struggles, they are still a top flight caliber talent defense, and I'm not sure how they score in this game. So under is actually the thing I like the most here at 47.
Again, I made the number right there. I made it 7 actually.
Okay.
So I don't have an opinion on the dog. Boy, Kelly. He's one of those guys kind of easy to hate.
Yeah.
He left Notre Dame. He felt that there was a glass ceiling, I think was his quote on that. And here's Notre Dame pretty much penciled into the playoffs, barring something crazy on Saturday. But, LSU, conversely, where they could probably recruit as well as anybody in the country, and you could just look up and down pro rosters, how many LSU guys are on pro rosters, how many LSU guys are in the Hall of Fame, how many guys are even eligible for the Hall of Fame, a whole bunch of them from LSU. But somehow Kelly's dropped the ball. And, fire Kelly, well, I don't know. They got a lot of money down in LSU. Maybe they're going to wind up firing him, but I don't think it'll be at the end of this year. Probably, I think he's got at least another year left. But he's been horribly disappointing. There's no question about it. But I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma, they jumped up last week. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? I kind of doubt it a little bit. Yeah, that's why I made the number 7. I think I would stick with that.
They took the 6.5.
Yep.
The reason the total is at 47, Jeff, is because LSU can still score points, and if Oklahoma can score a couple of touchdowns, then I think folks would think it might go over. But it hasn't moved either way. But that's the reason for the 47 here.
Let's move along to the Big 12. Let's go to Waco. Baylor, Kansas. I said this to you earlier, Chris. Mm-hmm. If we're just going off current form in the Big 12, this would be the 2 teams playing in Arlington next week.
Probably, yeah.
Both of these teams have been great the last month plus. So some books open Baylor as a small favorite. You guys opened this game pick.
Yeah.
And then immediately went to KU 2.
Yeah. I saw it moving, and I did not want to be on the wrong end.
Well, you said this last week with Colorado and KU, and Kansas didn't punt in that game last week.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes. It's actually a funny story with that. Kansas's punter is Australian.
Yeah.
The family came from Australia to see the game, and he didn't punt.
Did he didn't have to? Did he hold on extra?
I'm not sure if he did or he didn't, but he did not punt in the game. So this was actually also in the diatribe earlier about the Big 12 dogs.
Yeah. Yes.
When Kansas was an underdog, I took them because I figured they were not going to be a dog the whole week because of the way the market has been playing them and the way they've been playing. I like this better. I like this number, this 1.5, Kansas 2. I think they should be a small favorite in this game. But boy, Baylor has played some great football since Robertson has taken over at quarterback.
Yeah, but I like Kansas in this game. And again, they're a team playing for bowl eligibility. Back to the old theory that I'm not sure applies anymore, but a team that's been very disappointing throughout. Not the last couple of weeks. They haven't been very disappointing, but nonetheless, they looking at the year as a whole, certainly not what they expected to be, and they are playing for bowl eligibility here. I think Kansas walks away with a win. I like them in this game.
They did take the 2, so went back to 1.5. But Kansas is playing. They've played the last 3 games in particular the way we had anticipated them playing the season. So, again, a very dangerous team right now. I mean, Baylor's not playing for a playoff, but certainly Kansas playing for a bowl bid. Baylor playing for a higher, more lucrative bowl.
Baylor technically alive for a spot in the Big 12 championship game.
Well,
still, they need
they
need a lot of help as well.
They need the most help, don't they, Jeff?
Well, they need to win themselves, of course,
Yes.
first. They even have a chance. But they are technically alive if we get carnage in that conference this week. Quick hitter real quick. Cal goes to SMU conference game, by the way.
Yeah,
Naturally.
Look, SMU's been, since that BYU loss, as good as anyone in the entire country. 13.5-point favorites. Chris, you have
my man. That's my man.
Vinny was all over it from the get-go.
Vinny told me, I think in June, he told me to look out for SMU.
So this line hasn't moved all week, so I guess you guys made a good number here at 13.5 and 56.5.
We make them occasionally.
Get the darts in the right spot now and then.
All right, well, we'll keep it in Texas, and we'll just go to College Station instead. How about that?
Wow.
What a game. First time since, and I forgot about this. First time since 2011 these guys have played each other, Texas A&M and Texas. Texas won the last matchup in College Station. You know who kicked the game-winning field goal for Texas in that game?
Wait, hang on. Russell Work-Slavin. No, that's Wade Leck. Does any of these guys even know who that is? Jimmy over there knows him. No, I don't know.
Justin Tucker.
Really? Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, kicked the game-winning field goal for UT that day at Kyle Field.
Yeah.
Now, this is a weird one for college football playoff implications. The winner of this game's in the SEC title game, which would then set us up for a potential weird scenario where a loser of the SEC title game could have 4 losses if it happens to be a Texas A&M here. 5.5, the Horns are favored on the road. Vinny, they took the 6 initially, which, again, Texas's best win this year might be at Vanderbilt. Legitimate shot that that's the case. Is a huge step up in class for the Horns here in this game against the Aggies.
This was a game, by the way, yours is listed as questionable, but I have to believe he's going to go with the sore ankle. We used Texas on the game of the year, 6.
Well, you got right on it. Look at you guys.
They took it down to 4.5. So I'm wondering if this is going to head the same way. I think it'll be overall a two-way betting game. But I think initially there'll be a move to the dog as we've started to see. As good a home field advantage as there is in college football, and a great rivalry here. So I'm with a 12th man, College Station. Yeah, I tell you what, this is a good game. I think it's going to be a great game to book. Kind of wish it was a little. I know it's 4:30 our time, but I wish it was a little bit. I wish it was the 7:30 game.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
By the way, little trivia point here with these two teams. They had probably, as far as I know, the most obscure scoring play in college football history. A 1-point safety.
Ah, yes.
Do you know that story?
I don't.
I just Googled it right now, and you can go to YouTube or Google and find it. A 1 point. It was on an extra point attempt, and I don't want to spend 5 minutes looking at this thing, but there is a 1-point safety that's possible on an extra point, and it happened at a Texas A&M game way back when, I think in the 70s, might be the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, you know what, Chris? It was 2004.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my
That
gosh!
recent?
Wow.
Yeah, it's 2004. The score was 6-1. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, they gave up that run in the bottom of the bottom of the fourth quarter.
I'm curious to see how this plays out, because I wouldn't be shocked if it goes the way that you said, Vinny, like the game of the year gets bet down. Again, this is like Texas has played one high-end team this year, Georgia, and Georgia smacked them around in a game where Carson Beck turned it over 3 times. So,
if you look at it, the pure numbers tell me Texas, but I don't know if I could trust those numbers. I don't, because like you said, they played one legit team, and they got run out of the building pretty much. I don't know what the final score was, but I don't think it was indicative of what
30-15.
Yeah, I don't even think it was that close.
It was
really, that makes it sound like a 2-score game.
Well,
you're right in
The
it. No, they
debacle at
weren't.
the end of the game with the
fans throwing the
and,
crap on the field, all that fun stuff.
Bad spot.
All right, well, let's go to the Bourbon Bowl next.
Yes.
Louisville at Kentucky. The Magliulo household will be ready for this one as always. Cats are getting 3.5 at home in this one. Well, Vinny, Kentucky can't be bowl eligible. They only have 4 wins. But
It's their season.
Boy, would they love to ruin the final week of Louisville's regular season here, Vincenzo.
I have to tell you, there were relatives of and fans of both teams and I've been there. I've been there not Wait, I was there once for a football game, but saw many college basketball games.
Wow.
Let me tell you, I saw husbands and wives. You would have never known they were husbands and wives. I mean, it's on. So, I mean, look, again, you go back to the rivalry ramifications in terms of recruiting, in terms of transferring. This one here doesn't get the rivalry attention as a lot of other ones that we've been talking about, but in that area, it's very strong. Pick on the game of the year, which they did not touch, believe it or not. And this one's sitting at the 3.5, betting it over, which I'm not real surprised at that either, even with Kentucky's defense. I think, both these teams are going to look to press it here. I think Kentucky just, Stoops says, like, look, he knows he's going to need to score points in this game. So it's up a full point in terms of the total.
I made Louisville 1,
Yeah.
So I kind of would favor the dog in this spot. I think Kentucky has a lot of incentive in this one. Not that Louisville doesn't.
It's their season. This is Kentucky's season.
Yeah, but this is Kentucky's season right now. And again, a team that was a little bit disappointing this year. And they played some great defense throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
I like Kentucky in this one.
And they benched their quarterback, Vandergriff, this week. Cutter Boley will get the start for Kentucky. So that's at least something to keep in mind. The true freshman who we saw play a little bit last week in that loss to Texas. All right, let's go to the Battle Line rivalry, the fictitious rivalry between Arkansas and Missouri. This is down to 3 in this one. Now on the Saturday, no longer on Black Friday. This was on Black Friday the last decade plus. I said this to you on Monday, Vinny. I think we've gotten a little too far the other way on Missouri here. A bunch of us had them overrated at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Now I actually think they're actually a little bit undervalued here. Only 3. I'll lay it with Mizzou at home against Arkansas, who, again, we've talked about them all year. Solid team, super erratic throughout the year for the Hogs.
I was just going to say, my numbers come higher, but I don't trust my rating on Arkansas at all.
That's fair.
I really don't.
We saw that in the games of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
we
definitely.
Did.
I just don't trust. I don't have a feel for this team. Numbers wise, I would say Missouri. But if I was out there betting, which I'm not, I would stay away from this game. Don't trust my opinion on Arkansas in any way, shape, or form.
Jeff, if you like Missouri, you're gonna lay the better number because they took 4 and 3.5. So you're gonna be in a better position to back them. So.
Well, let's go. That game's on the jackpot card. Now one that's definitely on the jackpot card, the Iron Bowl. Auburn needs a win to get the win 6 to get bowl eligible. They go to Alabama, who has 3 losses on the year, which is a place they're not familiar with being. I brought this up with Vinny on Monday with Ryan. What headspace is Alabama going to be in for this game?
Angry.
Where you just got embarrassed by Oklahoma. 3 points in that game. And their defense was fine, but wasn't good enough. You now play your biggest rival, who is coming off a gigantic win against A&M, and now needs the game to get bowl eligible. This is one of the hardest handicaps on the whole board this week, and you guys right now are sitting at Bama 12 at Bryant-Denny with a total of 52.5.
Well, I made the number higher again if you look at just pure numbers, but I'm not sure I trust my pure numbers on this game either. Bama has shown they can lose almost any game.
Yeah.
Well, they lost to an Oklahoma. Beginning of, or if you went back like a decade, you say, Alabama, Oklahoma, boy, that's going to be
Coin flip.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But Oklahoma's been terribly disappointing this year. Bama expected to beat them. They were 7-point plus favorite on the road. Got thoroughly beat. They got beat by Vanderbilt. I mean, this is a team that could lose to any team, any quality team out there in the SEC. And Auburn right now coming off a big win. Are they playing their best football of the year? Maybe. You can certainly make that case. Well, I said it the other day. If you're filling out that jackpot card and you think there's any gimmies on there, did you watch football last Saturday? There ain't too many gimmies, trust me. And I don't think this one is one either. I expect Bama to win, but I don't know about winning and covering. I think it's a tough spot. I'd probably have Bama if I was out there betting, but I wouldn't be too crazy about it.
Auburn, life and death for a bowl game, no doubt. Alabama, angry after last week. Another rivalry game as we've been talking about. I see support for Alabama here, even though it hasn't moved yet. I'd be surprised if the public comes in on Auburn. I think professionals would come in on Auburn if it gets, let's say 13 or more.
Yeah,
but
I think they might need a little more of it.
Yeah, so or maybe 14 if it gets that high with carryover. Again, we're talking, but the midday game, so not as much carryover here than a 4:30, but more carryover than normal because of the games on Friday. Let's remember we have a Thursday, Friday action going too. So this is a real different kind of week. It's one of the busiest weeks of the year, and there's snowballs. And, when Jimmy comes in, we'll talk, some of the biggest beatings on parlay cards in particular over the years. And this was, I remember, I want to say it was 88 or 89, the Thanksgiving Day Massacre, where every day it looked like, Thursday we won. But I'm looking at all these favorites. And overs came in, and the same thing happened on Saturday. And we're grinding out a win, juicing out. Sunday came, forget it. I think we might still be paying those. The aggregate could have been called into play.
Could have been, yeah.
But we didn't. But there you go.
Let's keep rolling along here to my favorite college football game name, period. We get Farmageddon. Kansas State goes to Ames to take on Iowa State. I've only been waiting all year, even though I've brought it up a zillion times. So you guys, this is 2.5 right now on this one. Open 3, so they took the dog here, and this is another one of those Big 12 dogs I like, and I like the K-State Wildcats outright in this one, where this is going to be one of those what-if years for Chris Kleiman and company, where the league was down, all things considered, and K-State was 8-1 and 7-1 with a game at Houston where they were a double-digit favorite, and then flipping around, and if they'd won that game, would have been double digits against Arizona State. Instead, lost both of those, and now need a boatload of help to make it to the Big 12 title game. I mean, a 10-2 Kansas State team would have been in the Big 12 title game and probably the favorite in that game, regardless of who the opponent is.
Before you go any further, I would say this, the Big 12 has been disappointing. So's the SEC. And so is the ACC. So, I mean.
And everyone but the top 4 in the Big 10 have been disappointing.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I think a lot of it, and again, we'll know a little bit more probably in a couple years, but I think with the revamping of all these conferences, NIL, I mean, there's a lot of variables that we're not really sure of the total effect right now. But I think all those teams that we mentioned, like you said, except for like top 4 in the Big 10, have been somewhat disappointing. So throw the Big 12 in there, but you can throw the SEC in there too, and certainly the ACC. But that being said, Jeff, I kind of like the favorite in this game. I made the number a little bit higher. But I think it's a tough one. I'm not strong on Iowa State, but I kind of favor them a little bit in this game.
There'll be some buyback here with the Cyclones. I mean, I think there'll be a two-way betting game. I think we'll see support for both teams as we, get to Saturday. And in terms of the total, there hasn't been any movement on the total yet either. So I mean, just the take of the 3 is not real surprising, right? In a close game where teams are mathematically alive.
Oh, Iowa State's winning in. Iowa State wins this game. They're going to the Big 12 title game. And in a year that looked lost with those back-to-back losses to Texas Tech and Kansas, they got a reprieve.
They
are very much alive here in this thing in the Big 12.
I kind of like them in this game.
I mean, if they win, they're going to be favored. They're going to be favored in the Big 12 title game, regardless of opponent. They'd be favored against BYU. They'd be favored against Arizona State.
Yeah.
Probably be a small favorite against Colorado too, right, on a neutral?
I would think so, yeah. Let me see.
Iowa State.
Yeah.
They'd be small favorites.
So they would look at that, going from pretty much done to in great shape all of a sudden.
I'd have them a 2-point favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to
By the way, before we get on,
please.
I had to look after you said it. I have Tulane 3 points better than Boise. Okay. I didn't even realize that.
Okay, well, then you agree with Chris Felicia.
I agree with Felicia. Great minds, Felica. You listening, Bear?
There's something about the name Chris with that one.
Something
right?
like that. That Mediterranean blood, I think, too.
All right, let's go to the old Pac-12 teams now in the Big Ten, Pacific Northwest. Washington goes to number 1 Oregon. Well, I could say it's a good thing for the Huskies. They don't need this game for bowl eligibility because Washington's been arguably the worst team in America on the road this year. They have not won a game away from Husky Stadium, and they've been getting blown out by good teams away from home as well. 19 in this one with the Ducks, open 20, so they did take that at least. I don't know. Oregon's locked into the Big Ten title game. This game really doesn't matter for them because if they win next week, even if they were to get upset, they're still getting the number 1 seed in the college football playoff.
The first thing you said when we started on this game, the home and road splits, not only is it terrible for Washington, it's pretty darn good for Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you got two things weighing against each other. And I got to say, I'm tempted to like the dog, but really, I like the favorite in this one. My numbers say the favorite. I think you look at that home and road split for both teams. Not that Oregon's been that bad on the road this year. They haven't. But if you see what they've done, that they've just traditionally they've blasted teams up in Autzen Stadium, and I think they blast this team too. I'd like Oregon in this game.
I think what you want to look at in this game, and they took 20, right?
Yeah,
and I'm not real surprised because if Oregon, Jeff, as you mentioned, they could afford a loss, and if they're going to rest anybody, any players, this is the game, right? Their leading receiver, Johnson,
he's still nursing an injury.
I think this is a game where they've got a luxury to get some people healthy. So, and with that said, I could see why they took the 20, and they may continue to take the points here down to, I don't know, just to 17. I'm not sure how far, but there's value in the points here, even with Washington's losses on the road this year.
Let's keep it in the Big Ten. Bigger favorite. All right, Chris, one last time in 2024, the bettors will have an opportunity to bet on Purdue as a 29.5-point underdog in the battle for the old Oaken Bucket in Bloomington. Again, for Indiana, of course. Look, they got beat by a better team in their house. Mm-hmm. So be it. They've won every other game on their schedule. They're big favorites to win again here in this one. Will the bettors come in on Purdue at the last moment for one last time, Chris?
I made the number 30, so exactly 30. So I'm half point off what the market is right now. I don't know if they come in on Purdue. I mean, they, like I said, we keep making excuses for Georgia 12 weeks in a row. How many weeks in a row are they going to make one? They won one with Purdue, well, except for a FCS game, but I don't know. I mean, I thought 30 was an okay number, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Indiana running up in a game like this.
We're more likely to see dog money than favorite money in this one. You can't see people laying 29-30.
We'll get one more big favorite here in the Big Ten. Penn State's 24.5 against Maryland. Terps have had a brutal year, 4 wins on the year. Penn State win this game, you got yourself a home playoff game. Locked in at that point. Total of 50. I don't know. I can't really justify much of anything here in this one. I thought your numbers are good, and the market seems to think your numbers are good.
I made the number 25. Again, I'm half point off the market. But there's a lot of hatred here between these two schools. It's been one way for the most part. But Maryland really does not like Penn State. And I think Penn State mostly kind of doesn't care. So that tells you all you need to know.
Safe to say that Mississippi and Alabama are out of the playoff?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, again, this is where we as odds makers disagree with the committee, because those two teams, they'd be slight favorites on a neutral over Penn State. Maybe 1.5.
Bama, I'd have Bama 2.
2.
And where's my Mississippi? Mississippi plays Friday?
Yes.
Mississippi plays Mississippi State
On Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see what
Egg Bowl.
I'd have Mississippi 2.
There you go.
Yeah.
I know I'd want to bet one of those favorites. One of them I would not, if that was the hypothetical matchup. I'd like the Rebs, not so much with the Tide. I think the book's out on Jalen Milroe at this point. So? I think last week it's what teams should have been doing all year long against him. Now we go to LA. Last 2 games we're going to talk about here. USC hosts Notre Dame. Trojans got bowl eligible with the Battle of LA win last week against UCLA. Notre Dame with a win is going to host a playoff game as well. Chris, they've taken this from 7 to 7.5, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I agree with the move. This is, for Notre Dame, this has been it didn't look weak going into the year. But the schedule turned out to be relatively weak, all things considered. Now, they've handled everything in their path since the shocker against Northern Illinois. By the way, how big of a favorite is Notre Dame now in that game, Vinny?
About 33.
Yeah, there we go. Only 5 points bigger than when the upset happened. But you're going to give me north of a touchdown with USC. Now, look, I could get a bad effort from USC and I could get clocked here. Sure. But I don't know if I agree with the move to give the hook with USC. I thought 6.5 was probably a little better, even though I know you would have got plied with Notre Dame money at 6.5.
Well, again, I made it 8.
Okay,
right
again.
I'm half point off the market. So I have no real beef with the number. It opened 7. Then late, I went quickly to 7.5 because I thought 8 was a better number, and the market was at 7.5. So I moved fairly quickly, but I have no beef with the number at this point.
Maybe a toggler. We may see. I think it'll be. It's more likely that we'll have two-way action on this game, and SC with a big win last week over their crosstown rivals, and this is a rivalry too, right? There's another one called The Game. Right?
Yep.
The game is on.
Last one, Battle in Nevada. Let's see, the cannon on the line here. 18, I should say, in this one. You guys made some great numbers this week.
I made the number 18.
Yeah, right on it. 18.55.
There it is.
The UNLV Rebels are seeking their first 10-win season in football since they were playing in Division II, fellas. 1974.
Wow.
So it would be their first ever 10-win season.
Pre-Tony Knapp? As
a FBS or D1 team if they were to win this game against Nevada this Saturday.
Well, like I said, I made it 18. I have no real opinion here, but most of you folks know I spent close to 30 years in northern Nevada. So there's a couple teams whose jerseys or memorabilia I won't wear. UNLV's is one of them. I'm a Nevada guy. Reno, whatever you guys want to call them, go Wolfpack. I don't see them winning this game, but I think they got a good shot to cover. But like I said, I made the number 18. No strong opinion.
UNLV wanting to get to that title game, right? The Mountain West title game.
You'll win, they're in.
And against Boise, so they're in control of their destiny.
I have nothing on this game, but I will say, very interested to see, assuming UNLV handles their business in this game. That's Friday night next week on the Blue Turf. Yeah. That's a standalone game.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very interested to see how that market plays that UNLV Boise game, especially with how Boise is not the same team as they were 6 weeks ago, and especially if Oregon State plays Boise tough on Friday. Everyone will be watching that game. Not many people are going to be watching this game. So even if UNLV wins by 2 touchdowns and doesn't cover, a lot of people are not going to notice that to be the case, more so than anything. Yeah. All right. That's what we got for college here today. The chat always involved. Little Big, Agent 87, Giovanni, JR from the ballpark, Ryan's in there, Bob Custer, Vince. The first poll, will a 3-loss SEC team make the college football playoff? We had a tie? Wow. That's very odd. Shocking for the electorate to have a tie between South Carolina and no on the 3-loss team to make it from the SEC. That's interesting. That's very interesting from the electorate there. And right now, the other poll, Big 12 team to make the college football playoff, 80% say Iowa State. I'm going to disagree with the 80%, but that's a different discussion for a different time. All right, Jimmy Vacarro joins us next right here on Sports by the Book Football Frenzy.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. It's Football Frenzy on a Friday, on a Wednesday this week. Here on Sports by the Book, I'm Jeff Parles. Chris Andrews is here. Vinny Magliulo is here. And now joining us, the one and only Jimmy Vacarro.
Gentlemen, how good is everything? You know, you had a long session there. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
We had a lot of games to cover. Yeah.
Jimmy, we between college and the NFL this week, we're covering over 50 games on the show this week.
50 games. Wow. Okay. You know, I'm going to just do something real quick, and Vinny touched on a little bit, but starting tomorrow, this is probably the busiest 10 days that we have as booking sports in Nevada and obviously everywhere else. So now you have what we call like don't do that. What's the don't do that? Every once in a while, the Thursday games, which are all NFL, all win and cover. They are obviously laying big numbers. But what it does is like you're as the bookmaker, you're against the wall already. And not that you should feel sorry for us, because we don't feel sorry about you. But when the favorite shows on the Thursday, bang, 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 what you're looking at is like every time you book a game now and you lose, you're laying 10-1, because obviously now the 3 are in already. And then with this game, it'll be bigger, because now you got that Friday game, which nobody's going to bet except the favorite there. So, you know, it's like one of those things. It's just like simply it falls that way. I've been on both sides. Obviously, it doesn't happen every week, but like I would say, what do you think? 2 or 3 times out of the 10, it comes like that, where the favorite wins the first 3 games.
2 or 3 is a lot more than that.
Oh, it's a lot. Well, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. So what I'm telling you, so now you got a Friday game that comes in there, and then we're absolutely bamboozled by here's college basketball and college football, and then here we go. It's Sunday morning, and everything is still whacking around, and everybody, if it shows that like the favorites have been covered, we're playing defense, trying to get a fair shake there. But obviously, it's still hard to pick a lot of those games. But like I've been involved, and I'm sure Chris and Vinny has also. It's like, what do you mean we can only lose 500,000 for the Saturday and Sunday? Yeah, you can only lose 500,000. Well, what happened? They're laying 11-10. I said, well, it's pretty easy if you know what the finals are. You know, you go from there. So you two can know exactly what I'm talking about.
Seems like in the 80s and 90s, I was rooting against the Cowboys every Thanksgiving and rooting for Detroit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I go 0 for 2. Yeah. And now, this year's a lot different. We'll get to it, but of some great action on these games. But it's not like the old days when Troy Aikman and them and Emmitt Smith and they're double-digit favorites and they'd win by 1 million. And Detroit was maybe a 3 or 4 point dog at home to Green Bay or the Bears or whoever they were playing, and they couldn't even come close to covering.
Lose by 17.
Lose by 17.
It's a time-honored tradition.
Well, here's what you go like with Friday. Now, okay, Thursday's in. It's been a little back and forth, but like there won't be a teaser from here to Trafford on the dog there. What, the Raiders are going to beat the Chiefs? Is that what it is?
No, there won't be any teaser. I'll tell you, the teaser game's going to be the Lions.
Is what?
The Lions are going to be on.
That's going to be the teaser game.
Okay.
Yes.
But like it's like you have to. in a sense, get ready to do those things when you're the final call. Like in this sense, like Chris says, it's like you're playing for two different ways. You just want to play normal and just like put it down there, but like every once in a while you got to maneuver because you don't want to like be the hero and say, I told you that was going to happen. Well, if it don't happen, you'll be down on Las Vegas Boulevard faster than you want to.
Well, it's concentrated too, right? With the way the games are structured and scheduled, but with 350,000, of our closest additional friends.
That's the thing
in town. So you've got that much more activity on them. So ideally, it's just like every week. We need the balance of favorites and dogs. But when you've got that concentration and that increase of participation, that's where it comes into play.
Well, again, not that obviously, again, you people out there it's a different ball game being even a bookmaker because obviously now things are quite different than they were 40 years ago when basically young kids like us had our hair and you tried to do like what the old time was. Well, you have to adjust. It's like any other business that you have. You must adjust or you're going to get your ass kicked because if it takes one stupid move, obviously, that ruins the whole weekend for you. So, like I said, I know we're all covered good. We got good people watching it, but there was a period there where, like, as Chris just said, like got your ass kicked and didn't like it, but you got your ass kicked.
Turkey still tasted good.
Oh, yeah.
You really got to compartmentalize all that stuff and go enjoy your family, win or lose.
That's right.
I'm serious, really.
We'll be fine.
Then once you've enjoyed your family, come down and fill out the jackpot parlay card.
Yeah, Friday's a new day.
Yeah,
now Friday you go and do battle again.
Yeah, no, it's
That's an overlay there with the jackpot card. I would suggest we got a week right from now to when it ends in a
No,
week.
you got till
This
Saturday.
Saturday
You got 3
morning.
days.
No,
Saturday
Yeah,
night.
you got till
Yeah.
Saturday
Oh,
morning.
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how come somebody didn't tell me?
We're telling you now.
You're just
Well, I'm glad. You know what? Because he put Trafford versus Pick down in that thing too.
Penn Trafford versus
Churchill.
Well, we're not Churchill anymore.
that's
We're
right.
Woodland Hills.
All right, listen. It's been a pleasure listening to you. You did take too much of their time, so I'm just telling you as a friend.
Jimmy Vacarro, everyone.
There he
Happy
is.
Thanksgiving, Jimmy.
there he is.
Yes. So,
See you, Jeff.
I'll see you in a bit.
always love it when Jimmy's in here.
He's the best.
He's the greatest. He's the greatest. All right.
He's talking about when he didn't have. When did Jimmy not have hair? He has more hair than I've ever had.
I was just going to say that's his too.
Jeez.
Silver Fox.
Well, we guys, we've made it to Thanksgiving. By the way, it's very bizarre of the NFL that we'll have 6 teams on bye next week.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. We're not done with the bye
We're not
weeks.
done with the buys yet.
I thought we were.
No.
There's no one on bye this week, and then
Next
6
week.
are
Why
on
didn't
bye.
anybody tell me? It's
Yeah,
like
well-
Jimmy didn't know the games were on Saturday.
Oh man, what a character.
What else don't we know?
So let's start with Thanksgiving. So the early game. Look, we know the pattern at this point. Detroit is early in the day. Dallas is going to be your meal break this year, and then a game that's gotten a lot better at night over the last few
Great
weeks.
game.
We'll get to that a little bit later. But
I
let's-
got to tell you, we got a great slate on Thursday. I mean, at first when I look now from a bookmaker standpoint.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, maybe not from a fan. The night games are going to be great, but I'm looking at these first 2 games. I got this much action on these 2 games,
so-
a ton.
So let's start with Detroit then.
Yeah.
So the Lions, who are just pulverizing people,
Yeah.
best record in the NFL. Their average margin of victories more than 2 touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
It's pretty amazing.
In the
They were-
NFL, it's crazy.
We talk about the Detroit Lions.
That's
too.
funny. My wife today, she was talking about our bingo games. She goes, I never understood what does diminishing returns mean. I says, well, a lot of times the team is favored, but the NFL doesn't play that way. They only play to win. They're not playing to win by 17 or 21. And she looks, she goes, you better tell Detroit that. So, okay, good point.
So the Lions are 10.5 at the open. They got bet up to 11.
Yeah.
And
First
now-
bet was on the favorite.
Now we're back down the ladder. We're sub 10 here.
9.5.
And 9.5. Look, I know they lost the last 2 games, but it's been better for Chicago the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
They probably, last week was a little bit crazy. They should have beat Green Bay 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Last week, scored 10 points in 22 seconds to force overtime. And then they win the coin toss. Like, oh my goodness, are the Bears going to really pull this thing off? And then they uncork the worst drive they've had the whole game. And then Minnesota goes down the field, kicks the field goal, wins the game by 3.
We really needed that.
You did
too.
not need that result.
We needed the Bears to go
You needed
down
the
and
Bears
do
to win by
something.
3. Yeah, just don't lose by 3, and that's exactly what happened. But Chris, you said it. This has been an amazing action game here between Detroit and Chicago to kick off our Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, and usually we get these kind of games on 2.5, 3, 3.5, but this is, from 10.5 to 11 down to 9.5. And I don't know where we're going to be tomorrow. I have a feeling we'll be back to 10 at some point. But that's probably about where it's going to settle. And I know we got Mr. Bear back there. You're looking at me, Ryan? Where are you at? Okay. Caleb Williams has suddenly looked a lot better. We talked about it on Monday's show. You think Eberflus and the coaching is, ruined his chances to be Rookie of the Year, and I think you have a very valid point because, it looks like he's suddenly starting to figure it out. But he's still, he's a rookie. It's going to take some time. But, we see some great signs. And I think if you had asked probably 90% of the college or the football fans, 2 months ago, would they rather have Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams? Probably most of them would have said Jalen Daniels. But I think now if you ask them, I say, wow, I don't know. It looks like the league's starting to figure out Jaden. They're figuring out Daniels a little bit, and I'm not sure about Caleb Williams yet. So I don't know. It looks like a pretty close. Looks like two very good quarterbacks, and I hope they both have good careers. But I think the Bears fans are suddenly a lot more optimistic about Williams, and I think they should be.
Change it, play caller too, right?
Thomas Brown the last 2 weeks. Yes.
The thing about this game is if you look at the injury reports on this game, both teams have really extensive injury reports, which is really scary if you're trying to bet against the Lions because you look at this team's depth. Montgomery is questionable. He got hurt last week. He didn't come. They have not missed a beat with either offensive or defensive injuries. That's a scary thought. When
they got maybe the best defensive player in the league out.
Hutchinson had played in 7 weeks.
Right. Yeah, hasn't missed a beat.
If you're a Lions fan, great. But if you're rooting for other teams, boy, you hate to see them on your schedule. But this game here. I think Chris is right. I think it'll probably there'll be more support for the Lions, and they're going to be in every money line parlay. They're going to be in every teaser. Again, pros took the 11 and they took the double digits. But sometimes, especially on a weekend like this, the public overtakes the handle in terms of, they overtake the pros in terms of handle. This is the one that's going to jumpstart things.
Do you guys know the last time the Detroit Lions started 10-1?
We were alive, Chris.
I don't think we were.
Barely,
you were not.
Barely,
Bobby Lane?
Maybe.
1934.
34?
Boy, that might be pre-Bobby Lane.
1934.
That might be before Bobby Lane.
90 years ago.
Wow. There you go.
Jeez, oh man.
Incredible.
But we always talk about the Thursday night game lighting the fuse.
Oh, boy.
You got 4 fuses with this week in the pros.
Well, you got Black Friday too for the second straight year,
and you got and you have that Thursday night game as well.
We'll have Black Friday forever after this.
Well,
because the NFL has figured it out.
It's pretty good. We're going to go 2 for 2 for terrible Black Friday games, more likely than not. At least last year we got the Hail Mary return for a pick 6, but that was the only reason.
Refresh my memory. I can't remember.
That was Tim Boyle. That was Tim Boyle throwing one to Javon Holland 100 yards the other way on the last play of the half.
We might see Tim Boyle this week.
We might see Tim Boyle. Thank you for actually bringing it up, Vinny.
What a segue.
What a segue. Giants and Cowboys. What an awful game this is if you're not talking about betting perspective. So the Giants, who are tanking without actually publicly saying they're tanking, Tommy DeVito is not even traveling with the team this week.
Correct. Oh, is that right?
With the forearm. Now, he's apparently getting on a plane later today to go to Dallas. So he hasn't been officially ruled out. Right. So right now, we're anticipating Drew Lock is going to start, but who knows? The Giants are just trying to do this elegant tank where they're not saying they're tanking, but anyone with eyes sees they are. But Chris, the bettors on the news that DeVito might not play. This open 3.5, got the 4, and then has now been a toggler between 3 and 3.5, sitting at 3.5 right now.
I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if you know the answer or not. Is the Mara family in the Hall of Fame, in the NFL Hall of Fame? Probably should be. All right, you're going to go look it up.
Wellington, Mara?
Wellington.
I'm sure Wellington's got to be, right?
I would think.
Okay, so here's 2 Hall of Fame ownership groups And right now, they look like they should be owning the Carolina Panthers. You know, I blame ownership.
I think you're being nice on that.
Okay. I'm blaming ownership for all the problems on both sides. You know, listen, you're a player. You're going to line up and you're going to play hard every single play. Now, does that mean you're going to do your homework on Tuesday and Wednesday? Maybe not. And I know that was always Chuck Noll's theory. He says you win the games on Wednesday and Thursday, you just get graded for it on Sunday. And if you're a Giant player, they got rid of the starting quarterback. They got rid of your best player last year when they refused to sign Saquon Barkley. Now, if you're going to do all your film study on Wednesday and Thursday, you're going through all the drills as hard as you're supposed to. They're only human, and I know they're pros and they're great athletes. Blah blah blah, but they're only human. And I can say the same thing about the Cowboys. I can say that.
Wellington is.
He should be. Yeah. But like I said, there's tons of problems with these teams, and I don't blame the coaches, and I don't even blame the players. I blame ownership and management for the troubles that we're seeing on both these teams. They should both be embarrassed, and these should be two of the premier teams in the NFL.
Look, pro teams are businesses, and the product is what you see on the field, and the product is a direct reflection of management / ownership. That's what that, and Chris and I see it and talk about it all the time. And it's not armchair quarterback. And we were talking about this the other day. We've seen thousands again. You watch some of these decisions, and Saquon Barkley he might be the MVP this year.
He has a hell of a chance.
He's in the top 3, I think. When you look at. You can make a case for him to be MVP as a running back. So, you have to question some of these things. And it's frustrating for fans as everything gets more expensive, too, for fans. Yeah. So, anyway, but this game here, probably going to go back and forth between 3 and 3.5. CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys probably is going to play.
Yeah.
But it looks like Drew Lock. And we'll see. They signed this kid before the season. What did they give him, $5 million, Jeff, to back up? And they let him come in for one play. I'm not so sure, by the way. They let him come in for one play last week. I'm not so sure that it's only DeVito's forearm. I think it's his ribs too.
It's everything. He got just beat up last week.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I made a number 4.
Yeah,
so gun in my head, I'd probably take the Cowboys.
I'm not doing anything here. Dallas was the biggest underdog to win the NFL last week for the entire season. So I don't know. These teams are not any good. let's just go with that.
But it's
People
still
will
the
bet this
Cowboys
game.
and the Giants, and it's a Thanksgiving game. Again, this is a different dynamic this week because of the concentration of games and bettors.
Yeah, Ryan's reminding me that Tommy DeVito was cutlets was tenderized last week.
Very good.
That was very good from Ryan on that one. All right, let's go to this game. Got some juice. About a month ago, we were like, oh man, we're gonna go 0 for 3 on Thanksgiving this year, and you know what? Credit to the Dolphins. Yes, they have not played anyone that's particularly good in this 3-game stretch, but you know what? They needed to win all 3 games to get back in the playoff hunt, and to their credit,
they're kind of in it.
They won all 3 games and covered all 3 games.
What are they, 5 and 6 right now?
5 and 6 right now. A game and a half behind Denver, who still has played an extra game. They do not play each other, those teams, this year. They go to Green Bay. Packers just crush the 49ers without a good chunk of their guys last week. Good old-fashioned toggler for Thanksgiving night, fellas. 3.5, 3, 3.5, 3. I'll hop in for the first time on a play on this one. Tua Tagovailoa has not won a game in the NFL when the temperature has been below 47 degrees. And tomorrow night in
29.
Green Bay, Wisconsin, it is 27 with a 70% chance
I heard 29. Okay.
So I'm just going to play the numbers. I'm just going to play what Tua and Mike McDaniel and this team has been in cold weather and also has been against under 500 teams where they've not played well against over 500 teams. I like the Packers. Now that we're back at the flat 3, I think that's pretty good.
I should have brought my gavel. I'm going for the do theory. I like the do theory.
There we go.
I like Miami in this game. I'm gonna get the 3.5, obviously.
Yes.
But I like the do theory in this one. I think Miami keeps it close. I mean, I think this is going to be a field goal game, one way or the other. And believe me, I saw all that about Tagovailoa, and I understand it. I believe in it, but I think right now they're playing some pretty good football, and I like Miami in this one.
You not only like the do theory, you need the do theory.
I'm going to need the do theory.
We need the do theory. All right, I'm just saying it right now. That's for all the things we've discussed already. No question.
The need theory, a do and need theory. There we go.
I'm going out on a limb though. I do. I like Miami in this game.
All right, let's go to Black Friday and swing and a miss on this game, at least on paper. Now remember, the last team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium was these Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas last year. Aiden O'Connell returns, so we don't get subjected to Desmond Ridder, thankfully, in this game, after being subjected to him last week. And there are a lot of people who bet Denver who were very close to cursing Desmond Ridder's name, but Ridder ran the clock out instead of covering the game.
Can you get under center and run the ball 1 yard?
I know.
Not a coach say, but what are the coaches?
I'm happy you bring it up. So Pierce today. Now look, context is important, but we end up going to what Antonio Pierce ended up saying here. I want to pull the exact
Wait a second,
quote.
Jeff. Before you say, Pierce said it today.
Yes.
The game was Sunday.
Yeah.
No, this is about this upcoming Friday game.
Okay, before we then go far away, okay, he should have kicked the field goal long before Ridder was at the 1. Okay,
Yes.
that's number one.
Sure.
But once you're at the 1 and you have this far to, first of all, I think the play before that was a touchdown anyway. But you have this far to go, line up under center and go get your touchdown. You're playing for the touchdown. You're a yard away. You got a big, strong, athletic quarterback. Go get a yard, for God's sake.
Now, look, context is important on this, but this quote has been circulating on social media all day.
Okay.
And when Antonio Pierce inevitably does not
I've been
get
off
retained,
social media all day.
Inevitably not get retained. We're going to be pointing to this moment as yet another one. Here's what Antonio Pierce said today in his press conference. Let's call a spade a spade. This is the best team in football against the worst team in football. Let's change the narrative. That's what he said here today.
Let's go to 14. Let's go to 14 on this game.
I got to make a phone call. Hang on.
Look, it's a lot of points. Kansas City did their classic Kansas City nonsense last week. They were in control though for most of the game, but guess what? They needed to make a field goal with triple zeros to beat a bottom feeder by 3. Now, granted, that game was on the road. We kind of figured that was a sleepy-ish spot for Kansas City off the loss, but boy, you hear that from Antonio Pierce. O'Connell didn't complete a pass against these guys after the first quarter last year in this matchup. I don't advocate ever laying 13 in the NFL, but this would be lay the 13 with Kansas City and go from there.
Kansas City, I've been saying, though, all year, and really, Vinny, we talk about we kind of need Kansas City every week.
I don't know if that's going to be the case this week.
I don't know if that's going to be the case tomorrow. But they don't cover a lot of numbers. And like I said, their home field advantage is way overrated simply because the fact they win everywhere they go. Yeah. And I thought the one guy said, this one referee, you know what Mahomes' record is? He's like, 10-2 when this guy's reffing. What's his record when the guy's not reffing?
Yeah, exactly.
11-1? I mean,
bingo.
So, I don't know. I made the number 14 even thinking KC doesn't cover these numbers, but just look at this Raider team. I don't know what to tell you.
You like that quote, Vinny? You like that?
Like I said, go to 14.
All right, let's go to Sunday now, and we start with the Tennessee Titans. Congratulations. I'm going to applaud the Titans. You did it. You covered a second game this year. Not only that, you won the game outright. It was actually a good win for the Titans.
It was, yeah.
Against Houston, who C.J. Stroud kind of did a mini Dan Orlovsky at the end of that game.
I know, yeah.
to get the safety out.
Orlovsky's pissed. He says that's his routine. He doesn't want anybody else taking it.
I've got to tell you that the Titans' defense is not bad.
They're no pushover.
And I will tell you this. The other thing is, and you know what really makes you take note of that is, at the trade deadline, there were teams really interested in several of their defensive players. Detroit was one of them, right? Because of what happened to Hutchinson. They didn't get rid of anybody.
No.
And there's a reason for that. So their defense is more than serviceable. It's a good defense. Not the best decisions, under center, but again, another young quarterback.
And he looked a little better last
But being thrust, he's a gamer. I give him credit. He battles, but just not a lot to work with.
Yeah, other than the pick six, which was truly horrific last week from Levis. I don't even know where he was trying to go with it. He was actually pretty good last week. Calvin Ridley, by the way, Calvin Ridley. The market has still not priced his props correctly since Hopkins has been traded. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at props this weekend in this game.
You'll go over those with.
We will do that on Sunday morning. 100%.
You and Alex White.
Alex White and I.
But by the way, I made this number 6. So
5.5 with Washington. Look, the Commanders are leaking. They're leaking oil right now.
I think they started to figure out Jaden Daniels a little bit.
Yeah, 3 straight losses.
I'm not so sure he's 100% though.
That might be true too.
I think that rib injury is lingering.
That fourth quarter, the last 5 minutes, if you had the under, take a lap. Still, 41 points.
That
was 5 minutes.
Unbelievable.
One of the wildest games ever, basically, for the last 5 minutes, and it was between Cooper Rush involved, amazingly enough.
By the way, he doesn't look that bad either.
You know what? Cooper Rush is a totally adequate backup. Yeah. Nothing more than that. 34-26, 3 straight losses for the Commanders now after that one last week. Vinny, I have nothing on this game. I think what Chris said, like 6, 5.5. I think that's all in the right pocket. The total's been the mover from 43.5 to 44.5.
Yeah, they bet it up a point.
All right, let's go to Atlanta next. You know, I can't say I'm disappointed in the Chargers, but the way that game flow went on Monday, they really outplayed Baltimore in the first half, and we're losing at halftime. And it's kind of like, you know what?
That's a bad sign.
I was on the Chargers on Monday night. I'm like,
so was I.
I'm not winning this game.
So was I.
If they really outplayed them and they're still losing the game at halftime. And look, credit to the Ravens with a big time bounce back. And you know what? Baltimore's defense actually showed up for the first time in a while in that game.
The game still flew over.
Yeah, well, that's Baltimore for you.
But can I say something? And I was thinking about this during the game, and there was a way we kind of blew it. Yeah. It was a great correlation parlay that game. Yeah. Ravens and over, Chargers and under.
100%.
Really could have been that. And I never mentioned it. Dawned on me during the course of that game, but I think that was, you don't always, I don't advocate parlays, but you could bet correlation parlays if they make sense. That one would have made sense. So
this is one of the weird ones, sight unseen. Actually, the team that lost on Monday night's getting bet in this game. The open pick. Now it's Chargers 1.5 at Atlanta. We didn't see I think, thankfully for everyone who's bet the Falcons this year, we did not see them play last week. Falcons are 1 game ahead of the Bucs with the tiebreak because they've swept them. But I have no confidence in this Atlanta team, especially playing a team that is coming off of, by their standards, back-to-back lackluster defensive performances. And Atlanta's been super soft this year as well on top of it.
Well,
home dog to our road favorite.
Look at
that is a good point, Chris. That is the one little thing that we have to keep in mind here. That is a very good point.
Look at the schedule though too. Compare the Falcons schedule to the Bucs schedule coming up, and the Bucs have a significant advantage.
Yeah.
Short week for the Chargers here, and the Falcons off the bye. There's going to be money for the Falcons in this game. I know it's early on the Chargers, but I'd be surprised. It still may go up, but at some point there'll be Falcon money.
How many people are going to have Falcons plus 7.5 in their teasers this week?
There you go.
Probably a lot.
Yeah. I think you'll see it.
With this year has been a terrible year for the bookmakers, for teasers. And usually it's favorites that beat us, but some guys are getting wise to that wong teaser where you tease tease a dog up, especially home dogs. But this is a road dog, of course. But so what's the total on the 47? A little high. But so I think there'd be some value betting the Falcons on a teaser, getting it up to 7.5.
Let's go to Cincinnati next. Bengals off a bye. Steelers off a mini bye. Of course, Steelers lost last time out on Thursday to Cleveland, so they're doing the Ohio two-step here. We got a good old-fashioned toggler right now. 2.5, 3, 2.5, 3. Bengals laying it at home. I mean, look, this is as desperate as it gets for Cincinnati at this point. You lose, you're done. You get the loss 8, see you later. You're not getting there this year. Bengals basically have to win out in order to even have a shot to make the postseason. I don't know. We got a lot of things in the book here on Mike Tomlin. I mean, we got underdog in a divisional game, underdog period for Tomlin, underdog against a team that has no defense. I see a lot more reasons to bet Pittsburgh plus the 3 than I do the other way here, Chris.
I do too, and a guy who I've mentioned on the show a couple of times. We've texted each other. I've never actually talked to him. Scott Kazmar.
Yeah,
and Kazmar says he thinks Joe Burrow is very overrated, and he has a lot of numbers backing him up. And he says one of the things that makes Burrow overrated, he does not pull out a lot of wins in the fourth quarter. Now, a lot of games he's winning in the fourth quarter, and they maintain that, et cetera, et cetera. This game. And again, you look at this game, total looks a little high, but still it looks like one of those games, like a typical Pittsburgh game that's going to go right down to the wire. And Burrow does not do that well in games like that. And like I said, you can go follow Scott Kazmar. It's an easy follow on Twitter. And he goes through and he backs his opinions up with numbers. I can tell you that. And, I think the Steelers plus 3 has to be the play here, of course.
Yeah, and that's what they're taking. They're taking the 3 and laying the 2.5 with the Bengals. I mean, we know the Bengals can score. Listen. It's if you're liking the Bengals, you're thinking that their offense will overcome the Steelers' defense. And if you like the Steelers, you're going to say, I'll take a field goal with this defense, because I still think offensively they're trying to figure some things out with Russell Wilson under center.
Yeah.
So, but the Bengals, because they can score, they're in games. Now here you have them as a favorite, and we talked also about here's the Steelers with every one of their division games toward the back end of the season. So kind of a strange scheduling quirk, but. Yeah, I think it's going to continue to go back and forth between these two numbers.
Boy, that Steelers schedule is obscene.
Yeah,
down the stretch with all the divisional games. Oh, and by the way, a trip to Philadelphia is playing as well as anyone. And by the way, you're getting Kansas City and Baltimore on short weeks also later this year.
You get the Eagles and at the Ravens back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and then you get Kansas City after that. That's a nice reward for that, Brody. Go. I mean, my goodness.
Go play the games, boys. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, it's Tomlin. And they're already, and look, to their credit, they have stacked up more than enough wins to be in great shape right now, at least to make the postseason. I know, obviously, they want the division, but to at least make the postseason.
They've had a great record against Baltimore, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to New England next. Well, this game about 16 years ago would be the premium game of the day.
Manning and Brady?
No Peyton, no Tom anymore in this game. It's Richardson and May, the quarterbacks here. Indy's 2-point favorites on the road at New England, 42.5. I'll say this. I know it ended up not working out last week. I actually thought Anthony Richardson played reasonably well last week. I thought his receivers totally hosed him the whole game. And Detroit's just really good. So laying less than, again, it's on the road. Yeah, sure. But I think Indy's clearly a better football team than New England at the moment. So
we got 4 of these this weekend.
I know. This is
home dog going to a road favorite. Got 4 of them this week.
And they were a big home dog
last
week.
We got 2 more we haven't gotten to yet. I already talked to Atlanta, or the Chargers were a home dog. Now they're a road favorite. You got the Colts were a home dog. Now they're a road favorite. We got 2 more a little further down the list.
I already know one of them is going to be a fun talking point because of the other team that's involved in that game. But it's look, that's tried and true, Chris. We talked about it. Really, Indianapolis, it was the poster child for it earlier this year because remember week 1, home dog losing to Houston, but they did cover that game. Then they flipped around and played Malik Willis in week 2, and Green Bay beat them up when Indy was a road favorite.
Just remind the viewers one more time about that because it's an important stat.
Well, this is Chris and your Uncle Jack on this.
Uncle Jack, that was he was not like one of these trend guys. He wasn't that, but that was the one trend he followed. And it's not a trend as much as it's a reflection of an overreaction to the number from what we saw last week.
2. And there's a bunch of 2.5 in the market as well right now on Indianapolis with a total of 42.5. All right, let's go to Jacksonville next. Hey, they're all betting the Jaguars this week, guys. How about that?
I think is Lawrence coming back?
I think
Looks.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way.
That's the reaction.
It looks a heck of a lot better than it did about 24 hours ago for Trevor Lawrence. From 5.5 down to 4 in this game. I don't know if people are just trying to bet against Houston because what we saw last week, that was bad. Any way you slice it. I don't care that Tennessee played well. I don't care that, like you said, and I agree with what Vinny said earlier, that Tennessee's got a real defense. You cannot lose that game at home. Like, it's one thing to not cover it.
Right.
It's another thing to lose that game outright, and they did, and they earned it, too. This rivalry, by the way, has created a lot of bizarre things through the years. a lot of dogs covering. We don't have a big underdog in this game, but we do see underdogs win. Of course, Houston in the reverse of this last year, double digits, and Jacksonville won outright in this spot a year ago.
This was one of those when we were doing the numbers on Monday morning. I told Ashley, I says, I'm actually open at 5.5, but I moved to 5 without a bet. I told her, I says, if I keep calling him Goldilocks, if he's playing, this number is way too high. I really think the number should be about 3.5 if he's playing. Now, we did get bet. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't on it probably as well as I should have been. But they took the 5. I went straight down the 4 with it. I think that I still think at 4. Well, like I said, I made the number 3.5. So I think Jacksonville maybe some slight value. With 4 is like a mountain to climb anymore in the NFL. It's hard to win by more than 4, especially for a home team. But I think maybe we saw a couple quarterbacks that sat for a while, came back and played well. I think we may see the same thing out of Lawrence. I think 4 is probably still a take. And Houston, by the way, let me just say this: in the NFL, over the course of time, and I've been doing this a long time, very rarely do teams just ascend. There's usually 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I think Houston is going to be one of those teams. Like I said, I love C.J. Stroud. Everybody knows I touted him to be the number 1 draft choice. I think D'Amico Ryans, I didn't know what he was going to be, but after last year, we could see he's going to be a pretty good coach. I think they have a lot of good things going for him in Houston, but it's hard to just make that ascension straight up. I think it's not surprising to me they took a little bit of a back step this year.
If Lawrence plays, the trend will continue. Support for the Jags will remain until maybe 3.5. I think they're going to keep taking the Jags if it looks like he's going to play. If not, it'll go back up.
This is, again, I bet Jacksonville more times than I would like to admit so far this year. But
Did you cash?
Some of the time.
There you go.
Cashed in the first meeting between these two teams when Jacksonville was an underdog and they covered.
Then don't only admit it, brag about it.
Look,
boast.
I agree with the move. Even if Lawrence doesn't play, I agree with the move.
I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah, look, Lawrence today, just double checking everything. This is a great one from Trevor Lawrence. Not ruling out surgery, but I expect to play on Sunday. Yeah, those two things go together. But that's where I'm at.
I'm not ruling out a heart attack, but I expect to be behind the counter on Sunday.
That too, 100%. All right, let's go to Minneapolis next. Good football game here between the Cardinals and the Vikings. Vikings escape Chicago last week with a win. Not a good result for you guys in the back, obviously, with Minnesota by 3.
That cost us our day.
The Cardinals, I'd say one of the more disappointing outings of the weekend last week. They didn't score a touchdown. They get beat handily by Seattle. Did
they get beat handily?
Well, you know what it was?
It was
one really bad mistake.
Yeah.
A Mark Sanchez type pick 6 thrown by Kyler Murray.
It was.
And that was the difference really in the game.
Yeah.
I know Ryland missed a kick that would have made it a 1-score game at the end, but in the end, Seattle was the better team and the correct side the whole way last week. I was hoping for a little more than 3.5 in this game with Arizona, and the market has kept this thing pat the whole week. Minnesota 3.5 at home, total 45. By the way, Vikings did make news this morning. Sam Darnold has a new backup. It's Daniel Jones. So there you go.
$750,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, that's a bar. It really is for them. They don't have a quarterback under contract next year except for
just McCarthy.
Yeah. So probably a good move on their part. Anyway, I've been saying for a couple of weeks, I think the Vikings are overrated. and I only made this number 2.5, Jeff.
Okay.
So I kind of like your side, but I don't think you're going to get 4 in this game.
I would be
So
stunned if I
tell you
did, Chris. It'd have to be in the
I
middle
would
of the
take
first
the
quarter.
3.5 and be happy.
Yeah.
So, I made the number 2. Like I said, I think Minnesota's kind of peaked. I think they're a bit overrated. They won a game last. Well, not that they were lucky to win. They kind of blew it towards the end of the fourth quarter, but then they won it in overtime. So they weren't lucky, but I still think they're a little bit overrated.
Move to the under, which I'm surprised. I think the public still comes in on the over in this game. They'll root for points in this. Vikings, by the way, don't they? They lead the league in the last several years. 1-score victories. The Bears have the worst. Sorry, Ryan. I keep looking at Bear right. The Vikings have the most 1-score victories. They play close games and they win them. That's
since O'Connell. Now, of course, remember 2 years ago was arguably the most hated team ever by bettors, that Minnesota team, where they just kept winning. They kept covering despite all the numbers saying that they stunk.
They were the Purdue of the.
Well, but they
won those games.
They won.
Yeah, right.
They were more the
They were the
BYU.
anti-Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, they cover. I mean, of course, the biggest comeback in NFL history was mixed in there as well. That Indianapolis game on that Saturday. But look, Vinny, you're right. And again, Chris,
they're accustomed
know how to win
to
close
playing in close games.
So if they win by 3, Jeff wins his bet.
that is all that I care
That's all
about
you
in this
care
game, Chris. So we're taking 3.5 with the Cards. All right, let's go to the Meadowlands. All right, Chris, another one of these ones.
Yeah.
Seahawks are 2-point road favorites at the Jets. Now, even by Jet standards, this has been a messy few weeks on top of what has been one of the more disastrous seasons in franchise history, which is an accomplishment in its own right.
Starting to wonder about this stadium, Jeff.
So Breece Hall did not practice today either, so potentially Jets could be without their best offensive weapon, arguably. But we go with what you said before. You're going from home dog to road favorite here in this one, again with Seattle.
This one opened 1.5. It started going up, and I got a call from our good friend. I don't know if you got that same call. That there's a rumor that Rodgers was going to be benched or possibly even cut. That, of course, didn't come to fruition. So the number went up to 2.5 on that news, and then it's come back to 2. Sorry, Uncle Jack. I still can't bet the Jets in this game. I'm not touching the Seahawks either. But I know my Uncle Jack would be all over the Jets, and he might have the right side on something like this. But I think that number and on that quote unquote news got overinflated. But boy, this Jets is just such a bad team. And I do take issue with you, Jeff, when you said Seahawks won handily last week. I don't think they won handily. I think they won about the way you could expect a Seahawks team to win, which is very defensive oriented and that sort of thing. I wouldn't take the Seahawks in this game, but I it's very hard for me to bet the Jets. By the way, even with all that in mind, I made my power ratings came to the Seahawks a 0.5 point favorite, so between pick and 1.
The roller coaster that is the Seahawks right now, I think they're tied for first in the division again.
Yep. They're in first bottom. They are in first place on a virtue of a tiebreak right now.
So then you've got the Jets with GM is gone.
Yep.
So you again more management. You start looking at management, and by the way, the coach comes out at his press conference today and talks about how he sees a difference in Aaron Rodgers, and he thinks he's going to see the old Aaron Rodgers this week.
Sure.
Like in week 13.
Sure.
So
why not?
You look at that and you have to pay. You're looking at these. What are these people talking about? I mean, look at the results. Look, I think we're gonna need the Jets in this game. Although I think if it goes up again, depending on how much, and this is the last early game. Particularly if Breece Hall doesn't play, it'll go up again. And then I think if pros are looking at anything, they're probably looking at to see if it gets to 3. I don't know if it will, but at that point it'll be a take.
Well, this is just one of these scenarios here where I have no idea what I'm getting out of the Jets in this game.
Yeah.
But if you made me expect what I'm getting out of them, it's probably not going to be good. So, and I will say this too. The Jets have 3 wins this year.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those wins have come on Thursday night. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Week benefited them, not their opponent.
Because you don't really practice during those Thursday weeks. So the coaching staff couldn't get involved and mess things up even further than they already have. And also, too, less prep for the opponent didn't help.
Spoken like a true Jet fan. He really is.
Chris, this is...
What did your father do to you?
No, that's a question my mom has asked.
Craig, are you listening?
Yeah. But basically, it for the 20-plus years that I actually have true memory of watching this team and rooting for this team, this is the most miserable this has been. Now, I don't remember the Kotite years, so that's different. But this is this has been the least enjoyable. And there's still 6 games left. That's the worst part of it. There's still 6 games to
Jeff,
go.
it's just the dysfunctionality of it. There's teams
100%.
that get injured, and it's. By the way, your Uncle Jack, what he would do is he'd bet the Jets on the money line. He'd take a dime.
Yeah,
I thought what else Michael Jack would do. He would tease this up.
That's what I would say. I actually do think I think the Jets actually play this game within a score. I think this is a good teaser. They could.
As crazy as it is, and everything we're talking about, the Jets could win this game. And you shouldn't be shocked if they do.
Well,
but
Vinny,
they're going to need Breece Hall to do that. So
Vinny, you know this as well as me. When the Jets look like they're ticketed for a high draft pick, they always find a way to win 2 games down the stretch. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
You know that. So, Seahawks too in this one. All right, let's go to Charlotte next. You know what? I got to give Bryce Young a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Because
he's come back.
It looked like his career might have been over. Like, period.
Yeah,
go on the bench through 2 games of your second year.
Trey Lance.
Yeah. It could have very easily been Trey Lance 2.0. And credit to Bryce Young, who has played his best football in the NFL the last few weeks since coming back. With that said, the bettors have bet Tampa Bay in this game.
Yeah.
From 5.5 to 6 on this one. And Vinny, you mentioned it earlier. Tampa's schedule is a joke down the stretch. And they have a darn good shot of catching Atlanta, even without the tiebreaker in the NFC South.
I'll tell you the thing about Tampa. Gutsy quarterback.
Yep.
Good coach. Mm-hmm. Okay. And good coaching staff.
Good offensive coordinator.
Veteran players. Evans is back now. I know they played the Giants last week, but Tampa doesn't typically lose games they're supposed to win. They take care of business, and even the 2 games against Atlanta, right? They still scored. The
first one they should have won.
Yeah, but the thing is that they are really in the driver's seat, given their schedule, to make a run and win the division, which puts them in the playoffs. So, not so sure more than one team's going to go to the. I don't know if 2 teams can come out of this division and go to the postseason.
I would be shocked if 2 made it from the South. Yeah,
can you get? Well, let's see, 1 out of maybe 2 out of the East. The North is
3.
Possibly 3. So I think that the Bucs are in the driver's seat, even though they're in second place right now.
Yeah, I'm with Vinny. I kind of like the favorite in this game.
Yeah.
Not too often I like a road favorite, but I think they're a good team. They're probably still a little underrated, and I don't know why you like certain guys, but I always kind of like Baker Mayfield, but probably because a lot of guys didn't like him. But I think he's a pretty good player.
Talk about being resilient.
Well, talk about for his career. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Another guy where run out of Cleveland, goes to Carolina.
He went and won a game for the Rams in the middle of the week.
Like legitimately got
I thought the Rams might keep him.
Maybe Stafford was going to retire. But look, credit to Baker because his career could have been done. And now, forget career being done.
He's making $50 million a year.
Baker's got another 6-7 years as Tampa starter probably if he wants to be now.
I mean, he's a tough little kid, man.
Good player.
He's
good
6'1", I think.
Good player. All right, here's your 4th home dog to road favorite of the week. And this one, I'm a little bit perplexed by. The Rams open 2.5-point favorites, and this is a good old. What's up with the togglers this week? Even more so than usual.
Well,
here.
and on top of it, on the key number too.
Yeah,
which is-
2.5, 3, 2.5, 3, 5 different times. Now Rams 2.5. Guys, I think the wrong team's favored in this game because the New Orleans Saints, since firing Dennis Allen, have looked like a reasonable football team the last 2 games. Now, look, you don't want to overreact. They beat Atlanta and Cleveland. But I think that was just a case of that Dennis Allen had totally lost that team completely, that any other voice was going to help. And I don't think Darren Rizzi's an NFL head coach, but his voice is different, is a different voice. And getting Dennis Allen out of there really helped them. Again, I don't think New Orleans is all that good, but I think they should have been a 1-point favorite in this game, Chris.
I made them 1.5.
Yeah.
And, Derek Carr playing some decent football. I know you have that one Carr stat that's
He still needs to lose one more game, Chris.
pretty amazing, but he's also been a competent quarterback at times, and I think that's been a sea change for this team. Some competent quarterback play. Yeah, this is another one of my plays. I like the Saints. I thought they should have been a 1.5-point favorite.
Betting it over as well. I'm not surprised. I think it'll continue to go back and forth, bounce back and forth between 2.5 and 3. And yeah, I think the public is still gonna continue to bet this game bet this game over. I mean, it's up a couple of points already in the total.
Let's go to the game of the day on Sunday, and this is an awesome one. I-95 corridor game.
Yeah, it's a great
Philadelphia at Baltimore.
Yeah.
These two teams are as close, at least offensive footprint. Elite quarterback that can move. And obviously Jackson, that's an understatement. Jackson's the best running quarterback I've ever seen. And Hurts is pretty darn good himself. The 2 running backs that
You weren't around for Steve Young.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Or Fran Tarkenton.
Correct.
Good.
Well, definitely not Fran.
Yeah.
I was alive for Young, but I don't remember him.
All right.
2 running backs who are on new teams this year, and Barkley and Henry have been the 2 best running backs in the NFL.
Both those guys could be in the MVP race. Both of them.
Absolutely.
I don't think Henry's going to win it because Jackson's going to take too many votes.
Well, I don't think Henry has a shot either, but Saquon.
Yeah, but Saquon could win it. And not that Henry's any less valuable either, but they're both the 2 best.
Their
in the
stats
league.
are pretty close.
They are 2 best in the league.
But Saquon, what he's added to this Philly team offensively is, I mean, it's just amazing. And again, I think that's had a tremendous impact on the Giants.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will say this, and that's going to be the debate of all debates for as long as the Giants regime is still intact. Barkley would not be having this type of year behind that Giant offensive line.
No, he wouldn't, but he would still make their offense better.
Sure.
Okay.
For me, I think this is more just he was the missing piece in Philadelphia.
Oh, no question.
Behind, look at that offensive line. I don't care that Jason Kelsey retired. That offensive line still one of the 3 best O-lines in football.
Still got Johnson at tackle.
Yeah, Johnson's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Juergens, the kid is playing center now, is awesome. Barkley went to the perfect situation and has taken full advantage of it. This game is, by the way, Chris, perfectly lined for me. I think this is the perfect slap the classic 3 on it and see what the bettors do. I know you opened 2.5 and it's gone up to 3, but I thought Baltimore 3 was perfect, and this will be a classic in-game game for me to see if I can get someone at too big of a price in-game.
We opened 2.5 before the Monday night game.
Right, set on seed. So you moved to 3 on.
So went to 3 after the Monday night game. And not that we were all that shocked with the Monday night's results, but they showed enough to take it from 2.5 to 3. Because I tell you right now, Philly, I think they got a great chance to beat Detroit to get to the Super Bowl. I think they got a terrific chance. Detroit, I mean, we're not giving away any trophies now. We're giving away trophies in about 8 weeks.
Yep.
And I think, Detroit, I hate to say they've peaked because we don't know that they've peaked. They're playing great football. But Philly's getting better every week.
Great game to book. You know what's helped Philly too? Sirianni getting out of the way a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that they lost both coordinators from the last couple of years, but the guys they've got are doing it. I think the players are responding to it, and their defense is playing good. I would say that, I'd still want to see more out of Ravens defensive secondary. The Chargers couldn't exploit it last week.
I'll tell you what, though, Vinny, they had a lot of drop passes.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of, and you don't credit the defense for that. That's on.
I think they got some pressure though too, but drop passes. I don't know if Philly drops those passes. They don't. It's a different game. So, but look, you talk about a roller coaster too. Ravens with all their talent. If the Eagles will be able to take care, will be able to take advantage of mistakes, and I'd like to see how the Phillies game plan in this game. So it's going to be interesting. It's a great game. I actually wish they flexed it.
Well, I mean, look, when the schedule is made, we didn't expect San Francisco to be what they are.
We're looking at Sunday night. That looked like a great game.
But they still could have, right?
Yeah,
when you think about it.
Yeah, I think. I don't remember if Fox or CBS. I think CBS has this game. I think the eye would have been ticked if they had flexed that game.
There's certain games you don't let them flex.
Yeah,
and this would be the one that they'd say, I'm not letting you flex.
I'm being selfish.
Yeah, selfish. I would love it. Well, we'd have an astronomical hand.
Yeah. Well, San Francisco and the Bills is the Sunday night game, so let's go there. Buffalo. Look, credit to Buffalo. I don't think any. We all thought they would, all right, take a little step back, but they would still be a good, solid playoff team.
6 in a row?
They're 9-2. They haven't been 9-2 in the Josh Allen era at any point during his career.
Yeah.
This has been a heck of a run for the Bills. They're 7. The Niners are just eviscerated with injuries. No Nick Bosa or Trent Williams at practice today. Purdy threw one pass, so I would be surprised if we see him.
Really, I kind of had Purdy penciled in. I thought he might play. By the way, guys say, well, Purdy's not all that good.
Oh, watch last week, guys.
Yeah, look what happened when they don't have Purdy.
Yeah, so.
Listen, there's two things a quarterback has to have be successful in the NFL, and they're hard to measure coming out of college. Yeah, you have to have accuracy, and you have to be able to respond quickly.
Yeah,
and Purdy does both those.
It was brutal to watch that game. By the way, the report that came out today, Fred Warner has been playing with a broken bone in his ankle since week 4, which is mind-boggling.
It's usually only hockey players.
Yeah, mind-boggling. But here you go, Buffalo 7 in this game. We might see Matt Milano, actually. That would be the first time we've seen him all season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we might see him this week.
My numbers came to 7.5, even with Purdy playing.
I got a feeling this game.
Processing
even
was
with Purdy playing.
This goes up.
Processing was the word that I was looking for.
I think this game goes up, especially.
Well, if it's not Purdy, it's going up.
If it's not Purdy,
with the carryover,
and well, it should.
With the carryover on this game, we're going to look at this.
What's the money line in this game? That money line probably going to go up.
320. You might see.
Yeah,
it'll go through 350 if there's no Purdy.
You might see 380 if the thing keeps going.
I mean, you're going to look at it and you go, the Niners are getting that many points? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they have half a squad.
That was my first thought.
Well, look at the travel, too, back to back, right?
Lambeau back home
right?
now.
Oh, by the way, this extra rest even for the Bill. They were off last week. They get an extra,
Yeah, it's brutal. Brutal for the Niners. Just look, you mentioned it, Chris. We say it every year. Oh, this year will be different with the Super Bowl runner-up.
Every year.
Nope.
And
not
I
this
fall
year.
for it too.
Yeah.
I'm not. A lot of guys fall for it. I did too.
All right, let's look at the one last game on the card this week. The Browns at the Broncos. I don't know how this game ended up on Monday night, but here we are. Credit to Bo Nix. Credit to the Broncos. They're 7-5, and Bo Nix is right in the thick of the Offensive Rookie of the Year chase right now. And we're not allowed to say nice things about Sean Payton, but Sean Payton deserves.
We're starting to be allowed to.
He's allowed. He should be in the pure mix for Coach of the Year.
No doubt about it.
His team's win total is 5.5, and I thought it was high at 5.5, honestly. And here they are, 5.5-point favorites in this game. They're 9-3 against the number, by the way, this year, which is pretty darn good itself. Cleveland, look, I mean, it almost would have been better for betting Cleveland in this game if they had ended up losing last week to Pittsburgh. Now I think everything's fine here. I can't really lay it with Denver. I don't want to take Cleveland. 5.5, 42 on this game at the moment.
I like the favorite. I think
No problem with that.
Another game
I think
gonna
we're
go up.
looking at how impressed we were with last week's win. I stay in touch with literally 15 friends from high school, some going all the way back to grade school. Every one of us thought the Steelers were going to lose last week. Every single one of us. It's just the kind of game they lose, and they did. They lost, and let's not overrate Cleveland based on that one win. I definitely like Denver in this game.
What's the weather like, Jeff?
Well, the weather, if this game was the middle of the week, it would have been a problem, or at least earlier this week. Well, 43 degrees, no wind,
Yeah.
no
Clear and
precipitation. That's
Okay.
pretty good for the first Monday in December in Denver.
Total keeps going up. I think this game is going to continue to go up. This game. Now the Browns are playing better with Jameis Winston, and it's the players have responded. But I give Denver credit too, because I give Nick's, because let's remember that first month, it almost looked like Peyton was going to strangle the kid. But, there's three kinds of toughness. You got physical toughness, right, which is always measurable, but the mental and the mental toughness and emotional toughness have to come into play. And this kid has responded, because he could have just folded as a rookie under a guy like that, but he's responded, and give him credit. So I suspect that this game we're going to see way more support for the Broncos in this game than the Browns.
To your point, a lot of these kids that come in and you're a quarterback, you've probably been babied since you were 12
Absolutely.
years old.
You're the
And
star.
You're not used to getting screamed at and everything else.
Yeah.
And this kid responded. And I think that's why a lot of these kids don't make it in the NFL, because it's the first time they face any controversy. But this kid responded, and I give him a lot of credit.
It's about dollars and cents, which is wins and losses in the real world. That's the real world, right? When you get to that level, and I know they're getting paid in college now and all of this too, but there's no look. I'm gonna transfer. You're gonna get traded, or you're gonna get cut
or cut.
Well,
okay.
I will say this with Knicks, a guy who was in college, who had a good deal of adversity in college.
Yes, he did.
Started at Auburn, got run out of there, went to Oregon, and was really good at Oregon, except for the 2 games against Washington last year.
Yeah.
And to his credit, again, I thought that he was going to be a bust in this league. It does not look like it through the last few weeks. And credit to him, credit to Sean Payton, credit to the Denver Broncos, who look like they're on their way to ending the second longest playoff drought in the NFL this year.
Look, the thing is, the difference is, he did transfer. There is no transfer. This is it. You wanted to get to the show. You're in it. How are you going to respond to it? And obviously, he has. Now, look at who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year. Who knows what's going to happen next year? Look at in Houston. You've got a situation where everybody's like, wait a second, now let's, film's a great equalizer, teams adjust and things like that. But right now, this young man is doing a great job, and you know what? Their defense is good, and Peyton's doing a good job. I have to give him credit.
All right, before we go, shout out one more time to the chat. Minidar, Sean Higgs is in there as well.
Sean Higgs. Hello, Sean.
Sean Higgs.
Our Jersey, our
Texas.
Sean Higgs.
Our East Coast guy.
From Texas via New Jersey.
Yeah, I know. He's from Texas, but you look at Sean Higgs.
Nah,
You're
he's
a
a
Jersey
guy.
guy. Yeah.
Chris, your plays.
I got a couple plays
for this week. Final regular season week of
I
college.
was 3-1 last week. So
Yes, you
we're
were.
doing okay.
And quite frankly, the 3 wins were as least amount of sweat as you could ask for.
Yeah.
I know Air Force got sweaty for a second there, but Boston College, 5 minutes in the game, you knew.
Rocking
Oregon
chair.
State, you knew 5 minutes into the game
yeah.
on that one as well.
Yeah, and I had Arkansas. They land 23. They won by 21.
Yeah,
it's
not one more field goal needed.
Yeah. Anyway, I got 6 of them this week.
All right,
Jeff.
what do we got?
Vandy,
Yes, knew that was coming. 10.5 for you on that, Chris.
West Virginia,
+3 on West Virginia.
Kansas.
-1.5 for Kansas.
And now we go to the pros. The Saints,
+2.5 on New Orleans.
Steelers,
Steelers +3.
and the Falcons.
+1.5.
There you go.
There you go.
Two plays courtesy of Michael Jack.
There you go.
If I win, I'll
5 underdogs this week.
5 dogs. Oh, I got a favorite. Who's the favorite?
Kansas is favorite.
Kansas is favorite.
Laying
But
1.5.
they were a dog at one
They were a
point, though.
dog. Okay.
So, all right. We are off tomorrow, but if you missed this show, please watch it back.
Yeah, watch it again.
Watch it back. A whole show that 2 hours and 20 minutes for you here today.
I know, and we went long, but there's a lot to cover.
No, I mean,
there's a lot to cover.
Chris,
Big weekend.
Chris, we had the most games we've had all year
Yeah,
on
we
the
had a
show.
lot to cover.
50. I have to double check on one, but 53.
50.
That's a lot of games. It's a lot of
And don't forget, there's 2 teams in each game,
Yeah.
so it's 106 teams we talked
a lot
about.
of games.
You know,
to
we're
cover.
booking like 4 times that amount when you put everything together.
Oh, I know. Look, we didn't even mention any MAC games either. So, so we're off tomorrow. But if you want to cover it, just
All
hit
sports.
hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
If you're not hitting the subscribe
Yeah, if you
button
need to
already.
look back on our plays and what we said about this game or that game,
Well, Keith Lyle and company do a great job. Or is that Vince? Now I don't forget who does that now.
But we
But
got behind the
we
curtain
have Vince,
today.
Ryan, and Drew Dog and Jerry back there.
Good job,
Great job
everybody.
as always.
Good job, guys.
You can actually figure out which game is where. Just go to the bottom of the thing and sort from there.
Is that
And-
right? I didn't know that.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody
Yes.
out there.
So
Right.
we're off tomorrow because of Thanksgiving.
No, we're not.
Well, you guys aren't, but the studio is dark tomorrow.
I'm actually going to be working from home for the first time in 45 years.
Wow!
I'm
Congratulations!
68 years old.
Yeah.
I got a great crew. I'm taking Thursday off.
So we're back on Friday morning. Alex White and I will be here right after Ralph Sirocco. So quick hitters, 8 a.m. on Friday. Get you ready for about a dozen college football games. Chiefs and Raiders. We'll also actually on Friday.
Really pump it on Friday because then you'll be down to 24 hours.
Giving what our cards will
Oh,
look
really?
like
Oh.
on Friday.
I know Alex has a bunch of cards.
Alex has 5
Cruz
cards,
got
so
some
she'll have to pick one.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I'll have my card how I'm filling it out on Friday, so you can fade away if you would like. Just don't copy it exactly, because then we have to split.
Then
money
you have
if
to
that's
split the
case.
pot.
So that's the way. Chris,
Take
Vinny,
14 out of 15 of Jeff's.
yeah, exactly. Chris, Vinny, happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You too.
Great work
You
as
too.
always. Vince, Ryan, Drew Dog, Jerry, Ann, Sean, Caden. Great work as always. Happy
team.
Thanksgiving to you all. We're back on this channel at 8 a.m. on Friday, right here on Sports by the Book.
Great job, team.